don't be annoyed.
As Charles talks to the intro.
I can cut that later. I'll fix it in post.
Welcome, everybody, to the 100th episode. We made it to 100. I don't know what that means or if there's any significance to that.
It's the amount of listens we've had.
They number into 30s. I mean, we are way up there.
I don't know, man. I love it.
Officially for the 100th episode, of course, Steve is here and Charles. Oh, sorry.
You knew I was here. I talked through the theme song.
Yeah. And, of course, joining us from Illinois, the notorious BV. How you doing, Bill?
I'm all right. How about you?
There's a tape delay to BV today.
I had myself muted and didn't realize.
Steve, also, I'd like to note to people, Steve looks like a 12-year-old boy with like his weird no facial hair today.
A little fat chubby kid.
Yeah, dude, everyone tune in for Steve's face today.
There's a reason I had to trim. This is going to be gross. I was getting dandruff in my beard because the skin was so dry on my chin.
What on earth, dude? You got a huge thing of Vaseline in behind you. Do you ever use it? I don't understand.
You can't use it through
How the hell do you get chin jam?
I don't
Troy
know.
Polamalu doesn't have these issues.
I shaved it off and lotioned up, so I'm going to try to moisten up my skin before I grow my beard back. But that's the reasoning behind my 12-year-old look.
Keep it buttery, Steve. What are you doing?
Gotta give me some more.
You look like a 12-year-old boy. You can't have a dry, patchy chin if you look like you're 12.
I'm telling you, I did. So, first up this week, we want to congratulate friend of the podcast, DJ Tony G, Tony Glover. He was on the podcast back in January when we were allowed to have people over.
Been on a couple times, right?
Yes. And he was telling us about his girls. So his girls officially graduated this week. His girls.
Class of 2020. Congratulations. This is Steve Vomits on this.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's a good job. Congratulations, folks. What high school they graduated? Are they Shawd kids?
No, Taylor High School.
Taylor, okay.
It's not Truman or Kennedy anymore. It's Taylor High School. They all combined into one big school.
Okay.
I think they had some honors and stuff like that. So smart girls, good for them. Twins graduated. They had a little parade for them, I guess, and then a family gathering. I talked to Tony, so that's cool.
Jesus, congratulations! Yeah. What are the twins' names? You know off the top of your head?
Oh, I should have known that, but I don't.
Tony G. Jr.
Sorry about
personal touch in there. Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
This is really heartfelt. Steve, don't even. Congratulations, kids. I don't know.
I did graduate. I did congratulate him though, and then he's also still working on his pinball machine. We saw that time.
All right, good.
He said he's putting a lot of parts into it. It's going to be his best machine ever.
Good job.
So of course we'll have to do some video of that and show it when he gets that up and running. But congratulations to Tony G and his family for.
Congrats to all the 2020 kids and their weird graduations.
In 2 years, I'll have one, hopefully, and I hope they have coronavirus then, too, because it'll just make Holly the most upset little girl ever. She's like, I want my graduation.
BV is shotgun in this Fiji water. What's going on with you, BV? You extra thirsty? What's going on?
No. I just had to...
BB is parched. Steve's hacking and pop a pill. Dude, if you're gonna do juice, at least do it when no one's looking, BB.
There you go.
Keep that TRT program.
You claim to be the healthiest podcast around, right? you got pills and hacking.
Take that lisinopril real quick. What about this BP?
We'll get to later why Charles almost had a heart attack and died on his skateboard. So first up this week, of course, we like to cover the corona stuff, right? But it's slowly dying down. But along with the coronavirus, there was a lot of riots and protests this past week, and obviously we don't want to go too political, but at the same time, I thought there was a couple funny moments. The NFL, a lot of teams and a lot of companies in general supported the George Floyd and the protests and stuff like that. So they put the blackout on Instagram, or they have a black post with nothing on it.
They couldn't look more hypocritical during this time. It is unbelievable.
Well, it shows you how blind they are. They did support the protests, and then everybody immediately in all the posts.
Oh my God, dude. You are the most out of touch white people in the world. Like, dude, you basically blackballed the guy for 4 years, and now you're like, you know what? These protests are on to something. Like, you can't do, dude. I'm sorry. The NFL does not get a pass on this one, man. Wow.
They deserved all the shit they got this past week.
And will continue to get. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got lambasted. And then the other one, Trump is on the news talking tough and all this, and then come to find out the first night of the riots, they hit him in a bunker.
You got the bunker pick, yeah. I bet you his is a little nicer, though.
Well, no, this actually has the...
That's the president's bunker?
The Oval Office
that is the presidential bunker.
That's the symbol.
Oh,
that's where Trump spent his night.
There's no way it looks that shitty. If it looks that shitty, my tax dollars are being squandered, dude. I'm telling you. If the Trump bunker...
1947.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Because there's no way. That looks like a prepper bunker if I've ever seen one, dude.
So that was the big talk with the protests. He's talking tough, but then he's hiding in a bunker. So I don't know how tough you can really be when you hide down in the hole. And of course, the protests are still going on. The 4 cops have been arrested, and everyone's been bombarded with that stuff. So I don't want to keep piling onto that. So we all know how that's going. Now, closer to home, where here in Michigan, my wife is a healthcare worker, and she had her first COVID test.
Yeah, they poked her brain. Or they do the saliva test. Did they do the throat swabby or the nose swabby?
The nose swabby, but she claims they didn't go up that high.
Oh, okay.
What? There's a new test where they don't have to go to your brain.
Oh, okay.
They only go up about yay high.
Okay.
It only tickled a little bit.
Yay high, what Steve means is basically up the nasal canal, not deep in there like we saw initially, right? Yeah.
Almost like taking a Q-tip and just cleaning out the end of your nose. So it wasn't that big. She came back negative. She does not have COVID, so we got that going.
Are they going to give her an antibody test? Because I text my doctor to try, and I basically had to set up an appointment to go see if I have it and all that kind of stuff. Did they give her the antibody test at the same time?
No, this is a state-run hospital. They're pretty cheap. so they're like, as long as you don't have, you're good. We don't care if you
don't need no extras. You got the one test.
You got the one test. You're done.
Yeah.
So also in the COVID news, some of the restrictions here in Michigan are being lifted now. But they're still on the hit list. Our barbers and tattoo shops are still not allowed to open. Rumor is June 15th for them. So they got a ways yet. And gyms. Gyms are also not
gyms going to be in there? Because gyms opened up north, I believe. I believe she sectioned off the state again. I think she let the gyms happen up northern Michigan. Or she's going to. I don't know. It's so confusing, man. It's like just... check in, click on Detroit. Don't listen to us for your COVID updates anymore. It's impossible to keep tabs on this shit.
So, and then restaurants, if you put on here opening tomorrow.
On the 8th, So that seems to be the big push is dine-in restaurants with the restrictions. Half capacity, 6-inch social distance between you and strange parties. We'll see. I don't know what's going on. The hotel's not open in the restaurant. They can't justify the business, so it's pretty crazy.
Michelle and Holly were at Barnes & Noble today. They are open, and they've redesigned the whole store where all the shelves are like in a square formation now, so there's no thin aisles. Everything's kind of paced out in like a square, kind of like a locker room at Planet Fitness is how things are set up.
Kind of perimeter-wise, so you don't have to go by one another. You can kind of lace your way through it or something.
Yeah, because if you remember, Barnes & Noble's had those narrow aisleways that you go up and down.
I don't know, man. It's a weird world. I didn't realize that plexiglass was going to save the world. So we talk about it constantly on the show.
Only if we bought that stock.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, plexiglass everywhere. Did you see the Vegas? I know BV peeped the Vegas casinos. They got them like at the video pokers and stuff, like in between stalls. Do you see any of that stuff, BV?
No, I didn't even know they were opening.
Yeah, they just opened, man. The gamblers had that itch, and then they have a bunch of videos and like photos of like how they're doing. So they're turning off like every other slot machine is how they're doing that and kind of maintaining it that way. And then like at the bars with the video pokers, you're seeing like almost like a bank divider in between those poker units and stuff. It's a crazy world, man. But then it's weird, but they just ordered like, however, 200 million doses of that one experimental vaccine. So it's like, how far do we go? And it seems like, something positive could be right around the corner. I don't know if you guys have an opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now, a note on that Vegas, though. Michelle's cousin, Jenny, and her husband left Monday to go to Vegas from Minnesota.
Jeez.
So as soon as it opened, they were out the door, good to go. So I'll have a report back probably next week on what they did and how it is there. So I thought that was interesting that they ran out immediately.
This is the one you went to the wedding for, right? They really are like they're way about Vegas, man. That's crazy.
When I talked to the guy there, he said he goes 7 to 8 times a year. So
that's unbelievable, man. Wow.
That's a lot of money to waste.
Gambler is this guy?
He's next level.
The funny thing, when we were there, he didn't even gamble that much, so I don't know.
He's just hanging out, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, he just
did anyone, BB,
atmosphere.
can you look up and see if the Moonlight Bunny Ranch is open right now? That's the other one.
Man.
How are they going to plexiglass off the hooas? That's
Hold on, I'll take a look.
You got to wear a face mask when you go to the Bunny Ranch.
I think I read earlier. I think they're doing curbside delivery, so you just
it's gonna suck if you're in a Honda Fit.
You just roll up in your car. You call a phone number. She comes out to the car, takes care of the kid, and goes back in. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. So now the other thing this week, just like the NFL, our governor was getting some shit this week. So she preached. There goes Lily. She preached, social distancing and stuff. But guess who joined the protests? Not social distancing.
Yeah.
Thousands of people around her. And, boy, they let her have it on social media.
Good. I think rightly so. She definitely deserves some lumps. With the thing that her husband did out in Traverse City when they denied all the boating and then somehow he wanted to parlay the boat and stuff, she's definitely should take some lumps for how this went. I'll be honest with you at this point.
Yeah. And so that's Michigan. Anything exciting in Illinois' bill that's changed COVID or protesting-wise or anything crazy there?
Well, the protesting seems to have died down, and that the crazy looting and rioting has backed off. I think they've got that contained to a certain degree. I know the city of Chicago's curfew was lifted today, and the testing. They made a declaration that they now have plenty of COVID testing. So as before, if you wanted to go get a test, like for example, where I live, they have it was a closed down Walgreens that you could go as a testing site if you were really high risk, particularly if you were above 65, or if you were exhibiting symptoms, you could go get a test done. Now that's open to everybody, whether you're symptomatic or not.
So it sounds like they finally got their stuff together, in a couple of these states as far as testing. It sounds like Michelle did a pretty good job getting tested, and BV saying that Illinois got some stuff going, so that's good.
We'll see how much spiking in the next couple of weeks come from all these protests, though.
If any.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a look at the world today. Let's get out of that and go into our more normal nonsense. As you know, there's nothing we new we can add really to protesting and the COVID stuff. We just like to give you a little bit of stuff that's happened locally. And I thought the NFL getting some shit was well-deserved. Drew Brees also was under fire this week.
Mama, Drew Brees. I ain't even touching that with a 10-foot pole, but mama.
He got
blamed. Not his best move.
Yeah. So luckily, it's probably his last year, and he's retiring anyways. But not going to go out on a strong note if he keeps making.
He went from the hero of that city to a complete.
His own teammate.
Hero to heel really quick.
Wow.
So he was under a lot of fire this week as well. All right, so let's go into reviews and thoughts. And the first up we have this week, and this is one from me. I played Sea of Thieves because I have the Xbox Game Pass again on my PC because I wanted to put my gaming PC, which I'm going to talk about a little later, through the hoops and see how it was going. Now, if anyone's familiar with this, it's a pirate game. It's an online pirate game where Charles can be a pirate, I can be a pirate, and Bill, and we can meet up and get on a ship and go loot things.
Get that booty, dude.
Get that booty. I got to say, I played about 2-3 hours. Man, this game's boring. I don't know.
What are you doing in it? Like, what are you just plundering, or what are we doing?
Yeah, well, the first half hour is introduction, so it's first person, most of it. So you pick your character, and then they kind of give you a sword and a knife, and they kind of show you how things are working. And you get a little boat about the size of a car, it looks like. And you got to pull up the mast and everything, and then you go to this little port town, kind of like Nassau, back in the day. From there, you're supposed to meet up with a bunch of people that are all online as well. Well, apparently nobody's playing this game because there was nobody in this town. I'm standing.
Okay.
So then I get in my boat. You can customize your character and all that. You can buy some guns, and then you get a couple missions. And I get in my boat, and it's got a map. And one guy did join me. He didn't have no headset or anything, so I couldn't talk to him. He just ran around my boat. I was like, okay.
He just was happy to see someone.
I think that's what it was. And then there's an island that your mission's on, right? You get in the boat, and there's no fast travel, at least not early on. And it's like 10 minutes to get there.
Oh, jeez.
In
theory, it would be all fleshed out where someone could come and get you and attack your boat. Is that the theory?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just dying on the vines. There's nothing.
Yeah, but there's no other pirates in the ocean. You're just like, all right, hold on, I'm almost there.
It's a little too realistic for Steve.
Yeah, and then you get to the island. There's a couple skeletons or whatever, and you can find a treasure chest. And then the next thing is you're supposed to go back to that town, cash in your treasure, and kind of rinse and repeat. And it was, man, 3 hours in, I was bored out of my ass. I'm not gonna lie. This is not for me.
So this is part of your Game Pass, though, right? So we didn't pay anything for this, at least.
Yeah. Oh my God! If I'd have paid money for this, it's so bad. But being part of the Game Pass, whatever. I guess if you're diehard, but Assassin's Creed came out with a pirate game called Black Flag. 10 times better than this. You fight other shit. It's not online though. You could hunt whales. I mean, there's so much stuff you could do in that one. And this one, I'm just chilling in a boat for 10 minutes. I don't know.
Meanwhile, the other guy's just running in circles around you.
Yeah. He was like tweaking the mask.
When did it come out? I think it came out in early 2018. I think it came out. Okay, so it's a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, but it still shouldn't be that bad. It shouldn't be that empty.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be just me and one guy. Is all I'm saying. And this was 8:00 on a Thursday, so it's not like it was.
It's during lockdown too.
So, no one's playing it. So it's made by Rare. It's Xbox Game Studios.
How does it look? Is it pretty?
It's got that
cartoony.
You ever played Fable?
Yeah.
So it's got that cartoony Fable Incredibles kind of look to it. But it looks nice. I'm not knocking the graphics.
Peter Molyneux and the Fable series. Yeah, those look pretty good. They got a good art style. I got no issue with those.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's made by Rare, the same people who back in the day made Killer Instinct and all that. So I'm not knocking the graphics. I am knocking the gameplay. I don't know. Maybe they should come out with a single-player version where something happens. I mean, I don't know if the game's based. So for me, it was a big whopping 3 out of 10. It was terrible. Everyone ripped on Crackdown. I had much more fun playing Crackdown 3 than this. So as soon as I got done, I uninstalled that thing. And I was like, I don't want to play this again. It might be one of those games where they tell you, well, if you get 12 hours in, it's pretty good. And I mean, you can go through 12 hours of boredom to get to the good part.
Yeah, but you do that all the time for TV shows. You yell at me about the Clone Wars.
Yeah, that's true.
You tell me, just bear with it for 17 episodes. The 18th one's really good.
Yeah, but with a TV show, I can just put it on in the background. Okay, But a video game, you got to stay there and pay attention, and it's terrible. So that was a turd. And then I follow up that turd with I watched and rented Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, you thought it was a turd, huh? People were kind of positive on this. I'm shocked that you...
So that's why I rented it.
Oh, okay.
This was this is terrible.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what people saw in it. It did like Bumblebee. So the first 5 minutes, he's in the green zone from the video game, right?
Yeah.
And it looks kind of cool. He's a baby Sonic running around real fast, and it looks like the game. And there's a big owl. I don't remember an owl in the game, but whatever. The owl's there, and then they ship him to Earth, and that's when it just all goes downhill. James Madison comes in, the guy from played Cyclops in X-Men. He's been in a ton of stuff. He's a sheriff of a small town in Montana, and he ends up helping Sonic to get to San Francisco because it's just whatever. He dropped his rings. And I don't know. It was Jim Carrey was okay as Dr. Robotnik. He was kind of cool. He didn't like humans, and he had tons of machines, and he's kind of antisocial and a super genius. I liked him. That's about it. I can't think of anything else positive.
Wow.
The voice of Sonic was that dude off of the Space Force that played the social media man, also from Parks and Rec.
That plays John Ralphio and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
What's his name? Ben Schwartz, maybe? Is that his name?
Yeah, Ben Schwartz. Yeah. He was Sonic's voice.
I like that guy. He's funny, kind of funny. John Ralphio is a funny character.
Yeah, I mean, is it better than the original Mario game? Yeah, or movie? Yeah, that's not hard to do. But I didn't like it at all. I don't know what I was expecting.
People were really positive on it, so I'm shocked. Like I'm with you. I've heard nothing but yeah, wasn't that bad? You know what I mean? Like it was a kind of an enjoyable. You're saying like, no, don't believe the hype. It's terrible.
Yeah, me and Michelle were looking at each other like, they got positive on this. And it was so generic and so unoriginal and just so boring and just. I don't know. It just sucked. I'm sorry.
So wait, this was a movie, not a video game?
Yeah, it was a movie based on that.
BB, we're talking about Jim Carrey and stuff. What's BB? Like, what's this video game?
I guess I'm like, wait a minute. I thought this was a video game.
Yeah, they made a live action Sonic movie. And like I said, I've heard nothing but kind of positive things. It went through the first time when the trailer debuted, people were in an uproar at Sonic's visual style. So then they completely revamped it, and then people were kind of positive on it. Steve's here to say that it just went from a complete turd to an okay kind of mediocre movie.
It went from a pilot turd to just a turd.
Yeah.
It's just a single turd. I think what it was is because they redid the graphics on Sonic, and people were like, oh, well, they listened to us, so let's give it a positive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You ever seen the movie Hop? It's that animated one with the rabbit. And Jake.
I know of it, but no, I know.
Yeah, well, it's about equal to that, and that was terrible. So, no, 3 out of 10. This is a turd. Jim Carrey's got some moments, but other than that, and they're making a sequel. Well,
because again, it made a lot of money, and people were positive on it. So
I think the reality is going to set in. That sequel's going to make about $10. One thing we might have saved it a little bit. I was hoping for in the beginning, before the movie started, that little Sega logo come out. Sega!
Yeah.
It didn't do that.
Of course, a missed opportunity. Did it make the ring noises whenever he got hit, though? Like the ring shattering?
No, there was no sound effects from the game in the movie.
Come on.
I mean, maybe the one where he's running, that might have been a sound effect.
Yeah, but I mean, the ring when he gets poked and stuff like that, come on.
Yeah,
dude, that's a missed opportunity.
No. And the rings weren't even like collectible. The rings were portals. So you put the ring on the ground and you jump to a portal. So I don't even think they played the game. I don't even know what.
Fast and loose with the Sonic franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the wrong target audience, anyways. They're after the Lornas of the world and the Logans to watch it, not me and Michelle, but whatever. So this week, also moving on, I signed up for a free month because my wife and daughter surprisingly want Hulu. Hulu bad.
Why did your daughter want Hulu? I could see that a lot of those carryover shows between Heather and Michelle, kind of those bad chick dramas. I see that, but what did Holly want it for?
Hulu is loaded with old bad TV shows that she used to watch as a kid.
Okay.
So there's Full House. Every season is on Hulu. Holly, what are some of your other shows? Big Time Rush.
Big Time Rush. BV's way into this too, I could tell.
Hey,
she's got about 10 shows favorite because we have the same account. Okay. I went through my list. I was like, what are all these shows?
Oh, you don't set her up her own profile. I learned that a long time ago with Lorna. Yeah. You end up with like a bunch of junk. You're like, get this junk out of my list. What is this?
Well, I wanted to do a free month, and then after the month, if they still want to continue, I was going to do the bundle thing with Disney Plus.
Did you get the commercial free or did you pop?
Yes.
You got to get the commercial free, man. It's worth the extra couple bucks.
So I have a couple shows I'm watching with Michelle, and I'm going to review those next week. Future Man and Castle Rock. I think
watch Pen 15. I'll be curious to see if you enjoyed
Pen 15.
Yeah, as much as I did. That was the one with the 2 chicks going through like the 8th grade. It's super awkward and funny.
Okay, I'll watch that too.
Yeah.
But the one I do have a review. It's not from me. It's actually from Michelle. She told me Little Fires Everywhere. She watched all 8 episodes of this. This is Reese Witherspoon. It's based on a book series. Anything Reese Witherspoon's in, my wife's all in. Thumbs up. It takes place in the 90s. She's like this busybody housewife that's in everyone's lives, and there's some kind of weird adopted kid storyline. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I walked out immediately.
Sounds terrible.
She loved it. Watched all 8 episodes in a day and a half. She gives it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm with BV on this one, dude. I'm gonna check out BV. I'm gonna change my background. Check out.
She liked it. She liked it better than the Reese Witherspoon show that was on HBO. I can't remember the name of that one, but so you
is
girls
that like
out
Big
there,
Little Lies or something like that.
Yes. She liked Little Fires Everywhere more, so that's on Hulu. So that's the first one she sat through, and that's an 8 out of 10. Like I said, I got Future Man.
Let me pause you for a moment. Let me ask the digital room of gentlemen here. What is everyone's take on Reese Witherspoon? Hot or not hot? What is the opinion here?
That's a good question. Jay Leno's daughter?
Yeah, she's got a stark chin, man. She got a real chiselly chin. BB, what's your take on a Reese Witherspoon? What do you got?
Back in the day when she was in frickin' swimsuits, half the time I thought she was smoking.
Yeah.
As she's gotten older, it's kind of tapered off, and now I'd just rather not see her on anything because the stuff that she's on tends to suck.
Yeah,
that's my
big. He's not half naked. I really don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Reese Witherspoon's roles are always just in shit I have no interest in seeing. Her shows and movies are just terrible. It's like, who wants to see that? Maybe she'll end up in a Marvel movie. so anyways, Big Little Fires, Hulu. I have more about Hulu next week because apparently we're all in over here. Heather was on to something, apparently. I don't know. It really, Hulu appeals to women who love old TV.
Yeah, and you'll find out, like I said, like the problem is, and I talked to you midweek about it, if you have cable, I don't see the point of Hulu. I don't get it. There's not enough original content to drive it and stuff like that. Yeah. To me, I think you guys are going to have it for a month, bang out the little bit of content that you kind of want to see, and then bail, is what I would say.
Yeah. Well, we are canceling HBO in a couple weeks.
I think that's rightly so. I mean, John Oliver's the only thing I'm watching on there right now.
And you can catch most of his show on YouTube.
Yeah.
All the highlights from him. Yeah. Well, last thing on there is that one with Mark Ruffalo that my wife's watching, and she's not liking it that much. But
I gotta tell you though, after with recent events, how close, short of superheroes, we're living the Watchmen. I see it all the time. Like, dude, it's crazy. Yeah. That show, The Watchmen, is really on point at this point. You're going to have, like, freaking cops that can't show their face soon, man. It's crazy.
So, the next up after Hulu, I'm a sucker for sales, and PlayStation Store had Days of Play sale. And most of it, I've played the games on there, but there's one that slipped through the cracks last year, Days Gone. Days Gone is
Can I pause you for a second real quick?
Sure.
So PlayStation was supposed to do an event this week. We were supposed to get some PlayStation 5 information, videos, all that, and they scrapped it and scrubbed it because of what's going on in the world, and everyone's in a pandemic and racial tensions, and they scrubbed everything. It's super frustrating, you know what I mean, from someone who's intrigued by it. So then in order to kind of like, oh, don't worry about how we just totally pulled the wool out. They gave you a couple sales, and you bid on some of those sales.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was like, well, Call of Duty also, and we'll talk about this a little later, suspended some of their stuff too.
Yeah.
So everyone, now they want to say and look good that they're supporting the cause or anything, but doesn't part of you think that they postpone this stuff because they want the news to be fully focused on them?
Yes, exactly what it is.
But they're going to tell you it's because they're supporting
or they don't
the
want to be
cause.
Called insensitive by, like, instead of paying attention to an issue, we're trying to push a product. You know what I mean? Like, you can see the corporate speak that's going on in that one. I just brought it up because it's just one of those things that's like, I want to finally see some content. Never mind.
Well, you guys gotten emails from literally every company you've ever bought anything from, talking about how they stand with the protesters.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they're definitely.
I didn't get one from Target though. I'm just saying. I don't think Target's very happy with the protesters. I did get like 4 from Best Buy over and over again. The same thing with the COVID. You know, once the COVID started, how many different companies sent you these hard times? If I had to hear that one more time. But anyways, back to Days Gone. Days Gone is an open world zombie apocalypse. The world's ending. Blah blah blah. Kind of fitting for right now. It's okay. It's not as good as like The Last of Us. The Last of Us had a compelling story. This
is it told from the perspective of like a pair of characters? Are you a member of a gang? What are you?
You're a biker, and it's from his perspective. And he's got one friend that's left. So you got a friend, and then your wife gets on a helicopter early on and gets taken to a hospital. And pretty much the whole movie you're searching for, or the whole game you're searching for that wife. The problem is this suffers from early on Assassin's Creed. All the missions are kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Go here, kill them, come back. Go here, kill them, come back. And it's over and over and over and over and over. And it's padded to, from what I've read, 30 or 40 hours long. So, I mean, I paid $15 for the game, so that's a good value if that's what you want. But if you've got a job and just want to get through a game, you don't want to sit there for 15 to 40 hours, the game's fine. It's not knocking it too much. It is in a different locale. It's in Oregon, out in the woods. So most zombie games are in the city and stuff. So that's a little different. You know, they take it a little different there. But the game feels really, really padded. They probably could have cut half the stuff out of it. I mean, if you're in high school and you got nothing to do and you stay and play games all day, then a big thumbs up to you.
What'd you pay for? $15?
$15. Yeah. 15. It's regular 30, I think, but because of the sales, like half off. That's the only reason. I played a good 5-6 hours. It was entertaining.
How's it look graphically? What do you got graphically?
It looks nice. It's not top notch because it's open world, so you can tell where they cut some corners on some stuff. All the zombies look the same. There's like a female one and a male one, and rinse and repeat. Hundreds of them. And then there's a kid one, a little kid version.
How's the storytelling in it? How's the storytelling?
Cutscenes and stuff. It looks good.
Is the story though? Is it compelling? Do you want to see what's behind and what's driving and stuff like that? Has it got like a good Walking Dead kind of vibe to it, or?
Yeah, well, the game feels like it was meant to be Walking Dead, and then they didn't get the license.
Oh,
because the main guy looks like Daryl.
Daryl, yeah, wow.
And one of the first, and you're on a motorcycle the whole game, and one of the first weapons you get is a crossbow.
Jesus.
So wow. I was like, this. I think it was supposed to be Walking Dead, but then they didn't get the license, so they just released it as Days.
Wow, that's because freaking Norman Reedus is doing the Kojima game. He couldn't do. He's like, I gotta do.
That's really what the game feels like. So, and then the story's fine. You know, you're helping camps out and stuff like that. You're mostly fighting humans. You're not fighting. It's almost like The Walking Dead. You're fighting humans more than you are fighting zombies and stuff. And the one big difference: these zombies run. They don't run in The Walking Dead.
Okay.
But they're not really zombies.
They're infected or something like that.
How come every zombie game or movie never calls zombie? Even The Walking Dead, they're called walkers.
Yeah.
These are called freaks.
Well, World War Z, they were called zombies, weren't they? I don't know.
I don't know. So one of them was called clickers. I remember that or something. I forget because they clicked their teeth together. That might have been World War Z. I don't know. No one ever calls them zombies in zombie games. I don't understand that. But as it is, for $15, it's probably a 7 out of 10. It's an entertaining game. It's just I know I'm gonna 30, 40 hours in. I'm not gonna bother with that. So the next one here, I started watching this too. Who else started watching this?
Yeah, I picked this up. So this is off Netflix, as BB does the proper background for it. So this is Last Kingdom. It's got 4 seasons. I want to say the 4th season just popped up. And you had said you watched it, and a guy at work, I'm good friends with named Juan, watched it and said he recommends it. I started watching it, and the first episode is amazing. And then it goes into, like, him and the one chick. So basically, he belongs... Yeah, dude, does it? It is... I was super bummed by it. So the first episode was super compelling. Like, so basically, Danish barbarians, like, come in and start attacking, like, northern England and stuff like that. And then there ends up being a son of like a lord in the area, and the lord dies, and then the son gets basically taken hostage and raised as like this Danish barbarian. It all sounds pretty compelling, and it really was. The first episode was great. And then there was some infighting amongst the Danish barbarians, or Vikings rather, like you call them barbarians, but the Vikings and stuff. And then it just goes downhill. Like the guy immediately grows older, and then it becomes like him trying to prove who killed the Viking guy who ends up raising him. I don't know, man. It made a harsh turn, episode 2. I was just like, dude, I don't know about this one. So now I'm like at a 5 out of 10 on this guy.
Well,
but the production
once they killed Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, the production value is pretty good on it and stuff like that. I do have to admit Netflix has done a good job with it. I don't know, man. I was just super, like, it went from like this kind of really kind of epic movie. You're like, oh man, like let's kind of like a Gladiator vibe of like rightful to the throne kind of thing. You know, a very normal trapping for, like Steve said about like zombie games. Last Kingdom has very much like a rinse and repeat, like, you know, so and so's the true heir to the throne and blah blah blah. You know, and then it got way too like away from like the bigger crews, and I hate to sound like Steve, but yeah, it was not good when it got to just him and another guy or him and another girl. I was like, this is boring, and oh my god. So I don't think I'm gonna keep dipping on. I don't recommend The Last Kingdom. Like I said, I'd give it like a 5 out of 10.
How far in did you get?
I got through the first 2 episodes, and I got to tell you, I am super lukewarm to ever make it to episode 3.
I got the first 3, and after that, I was done. I never went back.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough watch. I got to admit, man. I was like, that first episode was great, though. Oh, my God. Like, that was a movie unto itself. I was like, this is really top notch. And then, like I said, they just shrunk the scenes into, like, him and this chick, and I'm just like, ugh. Yeah, not a big fan of The Last Kingdom on Netflix. Not a fan at all.
Yeah, I think I talked about it a few weeks back, and the same thing. Once Rutger Hauer died, they killed most of the Danish people off. Spoiler, sorry. Yeah. It kind of sucked right after that. I was like, oh, it kind of sucked. But So that is Last King, a big whopping 5. And then who watched Spelling the Dream?
So Steve put this on like the what to watch coming up. And of course, I saw a documentary and it was about something obscure. It was about the Scripps National Spelling Bee and the dominance of the Indian children's dominance of like 25 out of 30. Here's the thing. I'm already making it seem way more exciting than this was. This was a boring-ass documentary. This was as boring as it is to watch on ES. It's neat to see as some of these people grow up, some of them go on to be doctors. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, is there something to this Indian dominance? They're not admitting that the Indian kids are literally just drilling the shit out of this and like it's hard work and determination. Like, it has nothing to do with something in the water and first generation Indians, and there's something to this, and these kids are in Mensa. No, these Indian parents are really, strict about making sure you're worried about schooling and all this kind of stuff. They're showing you that work ethic pays off. It's not, there's no magic pill for it. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to, the whole thing is put up in a way that they dance around that topic. And I kind of was frustrated with it because I'm like, I see American Guild of Music every year at the hotel. It's a bunch of Chinese kids and Indian kids and all that. And the parents are making them practice in all the public space areas in the hotel and stuff like that. It's a work ethic that I would argue we struggle with as Americans. You know what I mean? Like little Joey doesn't put in the work. That's why we suck at certain things, you know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with some magical pill and something in the water in New Delhi. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with they got over here, got an opportunity, and they see a way for their kid to do better. And they are going to drill the crap out of those kids. And this documentary it frustrated me more than it did anything because I feel like they didn't do a good enough job of explaining, like, this is what hard work is. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be good at Tiger Woods didn't happen overnight. I think sometimes we as Americans, and this is me talking about cultural bias right now in America, which probably isn't the smartest thing, but we as Americans don't realize that it takes a shit ton of work. Michael Phelps he's a physical freak, but he also is up at 4 o'clock in the morning putting in how many laps in an Olympic-style swimming pool. There's a ton of work ethic that is involved in this shit. And these kids that are amazing at the Scripps Spelling Bee have drilled the shit out of this. You know what I mean? They didn't wake up one day knowing how to spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know what I mean? Like, they study that shit. And that's one of the things that they didn't do a good job.
Did they? Because to me, like, what other explanation could there be?
Well, they were trying. So they posed it. They came to it from. They also showed you there's an Asian there's an Indian, like a 6-year-old who's competing in the Scripps Howard thing or the Scripps Spelling Bee, who's in Mensa. So they're kind of posing it in a way of like, here's first generation Indians, and then like, look at this. Like, it's hard to explain it, but they don't just come out and say like it's hard work. And it was driving me, you know what I mean, BB? Like they dance around like this weird topic of like, here's a 6-year-old that can spell all this shit. And it's like, yeah, okay. And he's a complete anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, that's not.
Yeah, like this idea that just somehow superior intellect explains how a particular ethnicity dominates a spelling bee in a language that is not theirs.
Yeah. And
they have to learn it first.
And then they not only do they learn it, they drill the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable. And most of those kids that are dominating that national spelling bee are, first generation US born. You know what I mean? Like, their parents immigrated here under a 1966 act of something. I believe it's something like that, where it's like, bring in your smart people. We'll take any smart people from any country. And a lot of Indian folks came to this country underneath that act. And then this is that generation. And that's what set up that 25 out of 30 years of the National Spelling Bee. It was a frustrating documentary. And for that reason, I'm going to stick it with, I'm going with my 5s this week. I'm going to give it a 5 just because I was so frustrated, because I'm like, dude, those kids, they're not showing you, like I said, like, I know firsthand from American Guild, You should see, man. They bring in like portable keyboards for these kids. They're just all day long, just tickling them ivories, waiting to do their. You know what I mean? Like, it's an insane amount of work, and it just the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just like, no one's talking about the work. It's driving me crazy. So, 5 out of 10.
All right. So next we have review on review crime.
Oh,
Charles
first of all,
Whitmer
BV. I should hang up on you immediately. This chick, this is the worst stand-up I have seen in a decade. First of all, she walks out. She's this little frumpy lesbian. What is she, an Australian BV? What is she? Comes out, and she lays out how her whole show is going to go and makes, like, weird little stupid cracks of how, like, if you don't get it, blah, blah. Oh, this is the worst stand-up special I have seen. Abby is 100% wrong. There's so much better content on Netflix. Do not waste your time with Hannah Gadsby Douglas. Oh, my God. I couldn't even get into the core part. I bailed on this thing 12 minutes in. I'm like, I'm going to punch BV the next time I see him in person.
It got better as it went along.
Oh man, you got to watch the first hour to get to the good part.
I'm just saying, it's only like a little over an hour.
Dude, let me tell you, it doesn't get any better than the first 12 minutes. I was like, what was he? Because me and BV watch a lot of the same stand-ups, and we agree. This one, we couldn't be any further apart.
Yeah, I didn't expect to like it.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. I don't know how you did.
I'm glad I took Bill's advice and just didn't watch it.
Yeah, dude.
There was absolutely no question that you would like it.
Dude.
Wow. Okay, well.
Dude, I cannot.
I almost don't even want to do this because I also watched what you watched, or what you talked about last week, the History 101.
Yeah.
Pretty good show.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Like I told you, that's the YouTube generation of like schooling up history stuff and all that kind of stuff. It's just this chick's form of comedy. What show did she write that she kept talking about? What show was she the head writer on or something like that? And people were, dude, Steve, this is the worst fucking stand. Oh my God. The whole time I'm like, what is BV doing? Like, what is happening?
Well, no, it certainly wasn't funny when she was talking about how the show's going to go. That was, dude, if you didn't get beyond that, then there was no chance you're going to like any of it.
The worst stand-up I saw was that guy from the Chappelle Show that did his 3 mic thing.
Oh, Neil Brennan.
I
would watch Neil Brennan 15.
You would definitely have thought this was much worse. Let's put it this way. It's a very niche kind of thing.
Yeah, dude. I felt like I was missing the joke in a weird way.
I was surprised that I liked it.
Oh, man.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to run out and watch her next special right as it comes out, but I did like that.
She spent 10 minutes, and then she's got that quirkiness, to BV's point. She has a touch of the tism, so she's got like a weird like mannerism to her and like cadence to her speaking that's weird. Oh my God, this is the worst.
She's a little frantic.
Oh, dude.
Does she get a free pass because she has a touch of the tism?
I don't know.
You think that's what it is?
I'm not giving her one. This shit was terrible. Dude, no thank you. Again, watch Patton Oswalt. Watch anything Bert Kreischer. Watch anything Sebastian Maniscalco. Watch anything other than this stuff, dude. Oh,
so, Charles, you got to do it 1 to 10.
Dude, I'd give it a 2. And that's only because I liked the fact she was talking about the one dog that was on the stage. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, this is making me mad. I bailed. I'd rather watch the Big Show
Wow.
Dude, I was atrocious. Oh,
We
certainly weren't going to agree on everything. So.
Yeah, this is true.
That's true. All right. So next, finally, I guess the year 2020 is the year of the pandemic and Michael Jordan. So A Man in His Shoes. You guys tell us about this. I don't know anything about this.
So Steve had just told me he signed up for Hulu. And on Hulu, there's a great sneaker documentary that went over about 60% of what this documentary went over. So this is called A Man in His Shoes. It's an hour and a half, BV? Is it an hour and a half or 2 hours long?
Yeah, I think it's 2 hours.
Yeah, on Viceland. It's talking about the Jordan stuff. The only thing that was different from the Hulu documentary was they got into the social and the societal impact of people's love of all things Air Jordan. I personally, I love the story and the band shoes. BB, what did you think of all this stuff?
We finally agree again.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought it was really good. In fact, I ended up, as you know, we kind of later in the show with my whole book report thing, and my sort of trying to find reading as a hobby again. One of the things that I read was Shoe Dog, which is sort of the memoir of Phil Knight, the
founder of Nike. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I've really enjoyed the entire, for someone that never really cared much for Michael Jordan, I've enjoyed the entire run of the documentaries that are around him.
The Summer of Jordan 2020.
Yeah, I mean, he shows how much of a cultural icon he still is. Very much, probably, although not socially, because he didn't touch those kind of issues. Probably the closest thing to Muhammad Ali as far as staying power.
Yeah.
That we've seen.
Yeah, I looked it up, dude. Dude's worth $4 billion. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. I thought it was great. Like I said, the only other different angle that they took was that last time they spoke to a mother who lost her son to someone who basically jacked him for his shoes after he went and bought some stuff, and the sister. Did you think it was pretty crazy that he sent them a pair of unreleased shoes? I thought that was kind of out of touch, too. What did you think of that, BB?
Well, Jordan, yeah, I mean, Jordan is nothing if not a complete freaking egomaniac. But, yeah, that was a little tacky, to say the least.
Yeah, dude, he sent him a pair of shoes. She's like, I don't want to wear these. My brother just got killed for some. Like, what makes you think I'm going to wear unreleased ones? You out of your mind? It's pretty crazy. What is your guys' opinion on how Nike as a company and how Jordan reacts to the kids getting killed for their shoes? Do you guys have an opinion? Is there anything in the digital room that you guys could discuss, that you guys think about all that? Do you think that Nike's wrong for doing what they do, like making it scarcity? Because, like, I thought they did a good job too of also explaining, hey, Nike can't pour a ton in there because then they don't sell through, and then they go on discount, and it's a whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, you could see both sides of the coin. What is the Steve take on, like, kids dying for their shoes and how much Nike's responsible for it and all that?
I don't think Nike's responsible. They're putting out a product. You want to buy it, buy it. You don't want to buy it, don't buy it. But idiots shooting and killing themselves over it, I don't get it. There's two things in life that are way overpriced that I don't get: iPhones and Nike Jordan shoes.
I almost get the technology in an iPhone. A pair of shoes for $250? I don't get.
It's a whole culture. Jeff Goldblum even did a episode on shoes. And it's not just Nike. There's other shoes, but Nike is the tour de force when it comes to it. I never understood it, to be honest. I see a line that's 2 hours long to get a pair of shoes that may or may not be there by the time I get to the end of the line. No, I'm good. Yeah. I don't get it.
BB,
but I pay top dollar for tech. So
yeah, that's true, too. What's your take, BB?
I think that Nike, and particularly Jordan, could have handled the public relations a little better. But I don't think that I think it's a bit of a cop-out to blame them for their product and the price of their product. I think maybe a broader question is, and since this appears to be a problem that's limited to the inner city, how are and why are so many people that are living in absolute poverty coming up with ways to buy or prioritizing the purchase of $200, $300, $400 shoes? I think it's a bigger societal problem than it is a problem at Nike. Nike's a company that, and Air Jordan, which is essentially its own company, just under the Nike label, umbrella. Yeah, that there's no question that they're just by nature that their responsibility is to create, revenue and to make money for their shareholders. That's their duty. And in fact, if they weren't doing it, they'd be borderline violating the law. So I don't know what they're supposed to be doing because what they're doing as far as creating scarcity is no different than what the video game makers do, kind of to touch something we talk about a lot of here. It's no different than Sony, and Nintendo and whatnot, limiting the amount of the availability on things early to drive up the price, and
especially Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, how many people were getting robbed, for their back in the day for their PS4s coming out of Walmart or Best Buy or whatnot. I mean, it's I think the problem is the way society.
But couldn't you make the argument
about the value on things?
But couldn't you make the argument? So a PlayStation 4, for example, costs $550 to manufacture and get it into Best Buy, and they sell it for $6. A pair of Jordans doesn't come anywhere close to being $250 to manufacture and get it into that Foot Locker. So I'm not saying that it's not capitalism. I'm not here to argue that. But, like, isn't it a weird way of, like, you're oddly taking advantage of those people? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here to tell you how much a product can be. I don't think that the United States is set up to do that. But, like, at some point, Nike loves to play a conscious company. You know what I mean? Like, they love to put Colin Kaepernick on stuff, and they love to do all that. But then at the same time, here was a situation where you were creating this fervor and this demand so deeply that, like, kids are willing to kill each other over it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, you know, the government has to set the price, but a conscious company should say, hey, look, maybe if I make Jordans instead of $200, $100, and only make $75 off a pair of Jordans as opposed to $175 and be a better company and actually have. But then the problem is, and to BV's point, if you make them $100, they're almost not as sought after. So it's like a catch-22 there. You know what I mean? Like, now you got the busted Jordans. No one wants the busted Jordans. Everyone wants the hot ones. You know what I mean? So it's a tough topic, and I thought the documentary did a great job about it off of Viceland and stuff like that. But yeah, it's tough to. I don't know. Who was it that came out? Was it Tracy McGrady? Who came out with the dirt cheap shoes? Remember the really cheap shoes that were available for like $30 that were like a named shoe, and they wanted everyone to have them? There was an NBA, Marbury. Right? Yeah, the Starberry shoes, I want to say, is what he came out with.
And you could buy those in, I can't remember. It wasn't Forever 21, but sort of similar.
Nonetheless, for like $40 or something like that.
Which were huge, because he's a huge star, for example, in China, and those things sold like crazy overseas, but never really caught on here.
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I guess I mean, I can see both sides of the argument too.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, though, the market dictates
the price.
Yeah.
Welcome to the United States. I agree.
And I don't think that, I don't think that a company should. I mean, a company by nature, their responsibility is to maximize profit.
But at the same time, Nike loves to play both sides of that coin. Nike is the number one company that loves to play. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So Nike, I get what BV's saying. If you're a cutthroat company and you're like, look, shareholders want money coming in the door, period. But then at the same time, Nike wants money coming in the door, but then they also want to be this heartfelt company of like, they really get me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could also argue Apple too, though.
Yeah,
they try to be like this conscious company.
Amazon,
and they got child labor fees over China.
Yeah, you're right.
They had to put nets around their warehouse because people
jumping off Foxconn and shit. Yeah,
but they act to be like
a tough thing.
Company too.
It's funny because I worked with a guy named Corey who was a way big sneakerhead. There is a whole subculture to this, and I find it quite fascinating. It's one of those things that when you get into it, there's like weird lotteries to get picks for shoes and stuff. It is lost on me. I go to Dunham's and just buy a cheap pair of kicks and call it good. I don't know,
Well, it's amazing how many different versions of things that no one except people in that subculture know anything about.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've gone on a couple of those websites where they sell
shoe lottery kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so many different versions of things that I've never
even not on your radar, existed. Yeah. And the sad part is if you actually see a pair of kicks, you're like, those are kind of cool. Yeah, they're $480. Like, dude, no thanks, I'm good. Yeah, crazy. But it's a great documentary. It's called A Man in His Shoes on Viceland. Great topic.
What do you guys rate it?
Oh, I give it an 8.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, 8 too. All right, so Sea of Thieves on Xbox is a big whopping 3. It was boring as hell. Sonic the Hedgehog, I don't get it. That's another 3. Little Fires Everywhere gets an 8 from Michelle. She loved it on Hulu. Days Gone, I also forgot to mention there's a gameplay video on our YouTube channel I put up from my PS4. It was a great value right now for $15, so I'll give it a 7. Both Charles and I could not make it past episode 3 of The Last Kingdom on Netflix. Wanted it to be better, just wasn't. Spelling the Dream, Charles, it was lukewarm on it, gave it a 5. Bill loved Hannah Gadsby Douglas. Charles don't understand what he saw. Charles gives it a whopping 2. And both Bill and Charles agree on A Man in His Shoes on Viceland, about the documentary about Nike shoes and the shoe culture, both giving it a whopping 8. So this week, Charles, I thought I got to find some more obscure animation.
Hold
this
on.
Isn't that obscure.
Let's talk about we're episode 100. Steve implemented a new segment. Tell everyone what this new segment is. Go for it, Steve.
Since you two love how much I talk about animation, and Scott and everyone else, Steve's Animation Corner, I was on HBO Max looking for some stuff.
Just hoping to justify that cost.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it's going to go bye shortly. But I found an old gem that I saw years ago and forgot about it. Spawn, the animated series that was on HBO, 30-minute episodes, 6 episodes a season, 3 seasons. It was originally on HBO, so I watched all 3 seasons. Like I said, it's only 6 episodes, so it's not like I put in hours upon hours. I will say this, 1997, so how many years were we looking at? 23 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Animation holds up. I thought it wasn't bad.
Does it got a particular dark, or is it like an art style, or is it trying to go with the comic book look?
It looks like if you took X-Men, the animated series, remember that from our childhood?
Yeah.
Make it really dark, super dark. That's how it looks. And of course, there's naked women and cussing and stuff like that because it's a rated R, very violent. It's like that Mortal Kombat movie. I will say the first season is pretty solid. Liked it. Give the first season probably an 8. The only thing they do every episode before this episode starts, Todd McFarlane comes out. I don't even remember this, and does like a little 3-minute segment. He's like drawing the comic, and then he slowly turns around, looks at the camera, and talks about the episode. Jeez. They could have cut that. That was terrible.
Is Todd McFarlane still a thing in the comic book world, curiously?
No, he's bigger in the toy world now than the comic book world.
Because there's McFarlane toys,
Yeah, he still cracks out the comic, but nobody cares. Everyone, they look to him for toy, because he just got the DC license for DC action figures, which was a kind of a big deal because he was an Image guy, and now he has these DC comics. But anyways, I can go down.
We're getting out of the animation corner. Sorry.
Yeah. So the first season's solid. It's done good. It's got the Keith David, I think, is the voice actor. He does the Navy commercials. You recognize his voice as soon as you saw him. He's usually in comedic stuff. Does a great job. First season's pretty solid. Second season starts going downhill, and then by the third season, it's just terrible.
Oh, wow.
So watch the first season, enjoy it, and then stop. First season's an 8. The other 2 seasons like a 5 and then a 4. It kind of goes.
Do they lose you story wise, or they lost? Yeah.
Story wise, animation stays the same. The quality's still the same, and you still have those weird Todd McFarlane intros every time. But they start going even deviates from the comic some. So it's not even like because I remember the comic. I have the first 20 or 50 issues of the comic. So the first season stuck right along with it, and then the second and third, I don't know what happened there. But it was interesting. It's one of those jewels on HBO Max I was looking for. I found it. And so next week, before I get rid of HBO Max, I will do a review on the Looney Tunes. I've almost made it all the way through all of the Looney Tunes now, the new ones that they've made. Weird thing they do, they make Bugs Bunny's gloves yellow. I'm not sure why they do that. It kind of throws me off every time, but that's beside the point. So Spawn, the animated series, watch the first season, then stop. If you do that, it's probably an 8. The whole season as a whole is probably a 5. So the whole series as a whole. So there's Steve's obscure animation corner this week.
I like
Next week won't be that obscure. It's going to be Looney Tunes, but there we go. Now, Bill, also, we got another new segment because this is the 100th episode. Dude, we got to pull out some segments.
Changing it all up.
Bill was looking for a new hobby or something to get into. And, Bill, tell us what you started doing.
Well, years ago, I used to read a lot. And so I thought maybe, although I thought, law school kind of killed that as far as reading for enjoyment permanently. I thought, well, hey, since I'm home, I have a lot of time, maybe I'd start getting back into reading. And so the wonder of Kindle, read a handful of books in the last few weeks. And one of the ones that I read that you seem to have a bit of an interest in was the latest book from Jim Ross, the famous wrestling announcer, called Under the Black Hat, My Life in the WWE and Beyond.
Can I stop you for a second?
Please.
Is this is this sanctioned or like attached to the WWE in any way? Or is he able to be honest and forthright and tell you what's going on?
Well, he's no longer affiliated with WWE.
That's what I'm asking.
He was let go a few years ago. He actually now is the main
AEW. I know.
Yeah, he's the main AEW announcer. So yeah, no, he's very.
There's
candid.
nothing to do with it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, this is not WWE sanctioned or licensed or whatnot. So it starts in an odd place. It starts in 1999 when he first comes back to announcing after having the Bell's palsy diagnosed and trying to recover from that. And it does cover, like, for example, if you're someone that was a big wrestling fan back in, say, the Attitude Era and sort of beyond that up until more recent times. There's a lot of interesting pieces. He tells a lot of stories about Vince McMahon. Most of them have play in sort of, instead of just telling you like the goofy, quirks about McMahon, about like, he hates sneezing, he thinks it's weakness and people should be able to control it. He talks about things, how his interaction with him, how it's affected him, and how he would be pulled off TV, put back on TV. It's kind of the thing of him being like a ultimate team player and a lot of times getting screwed over. And pulled off things because McMahon was always looking for the new fresh face, and he was worried that he always thought that he was being pulled off because the Bell's palsy made it where he wasn't, his appearance on TV and whatnot. But he goes through a number of things. He talks about how he had brought certain stars in. For example, I guess he had to convince McMahon that people like to bring in people like Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero, because McMahon is notorious for putting a really high premium on size, and it never it took him years to come around to the idea that the smaller wrestler could be a main eventer. And it's a story about how they recruited.
So like Shawn Michaels never explained that to him. That's weird that like Jericho would have been the one to really, because like to me HBK would have kind of.
Well,
weird.
But see, Shawn Michaels sort of created his own, and this wasn't talked about in the book, but he was initially just a tag team wrestler.
Sure.
Part of your 80s, early 90s stereotypical rock and roll type, long hair, the rockers. They're, sort of like the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, sort of the Fabulous Ones, Fantastics. I mean, that had been recycled over and over again. And it just turned out that he sort of made that happen himself. I mean, he sort of forced people to take note. But for the most part, Vince has always been sort of, apparently been sort of hesitant to
the high-flying little guy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, but they also talk about things like an interesting story was how they had been looking at Brock Lesnar since he was like in junior college. And the first time that Vince saw him, he said, "Oh my God, he looks like a Viking," and wanted to go with a Viking, like a weird Viking character for him. And
because that's not too played out.
So apparently Lesnar had to be sort of like advised on the side not to go for it, but it was, I guess, kind of clear from day one that Lesnar was never really there for any purpose other than to see how much money he could make. He was never a fan. It spent a lot of time in the ins and outs with him and his wife and that, and so I mean, some of it was, I found his personal story a little less interesting than probably a lot of other people that read it. But overall, it told a pretty good story. And if you were into that era and you look for a lot of like backstage, sort of behind the scenes information, it's useful. I want to say it was like $12 on Kindle. So,
what are the percentage of the book did you already know going in? That like once you read it, like I knew that.
Probably about 50. Like for example, they talk like one story that I knew nothing about, although maybe I should have, is that they tell a story about when Jeff Jarrett was getting ready to go to WCW. He had the Intercontinental Championship, and they were negotiating through, and Jerry Jarrett, his father, who was like a old school wrestling legend and promoter, I guess had negotiated with JR that they were going to renew his contract. and he made the mistake of doing it on a handshake deal. And then the night of the show, right as the contract had expired, the contract expired like the night before. They come into the show and suddenly they're like, well, they basically held WWE for ransom. Said, well, we want $100,000 or I think it's something to that effect, and or we're gonna roll. We're not gonna we're gonna walk, and then we're gonna go ahead and take the Intercontinental Championship over and take it to WCW tomorrow. And so Vince ended up, negotiating. They had him negotiate a price, and they gave him his money. He dropped the title and left. But, there were even certain things like I'm sure you've heard of 100 times certain pieces of information about the plane ride from hell. He goes into it in quite a bit more detail and from a different perspective than the people that were, usually the story is told by people that were either half drunk or whatever during the whole process.
For the uninitiated, what is that?
They had a flight coming back from a European tour, and I believe it was supposed to be kind of a celebratory thing. Vince had them kind of all the squad all come back on the Concorde. I think it was like a 7-hour flight back or something to that effect. I think it was a Concorde. Flying back and had an open bar that he was covering for all of them, thinking, have a nice celebration, and shit got out of hand real fast. Like Lesnar and Mr. Perfect, who I guess were good friends, had gotten into this like discussion where Perfect said he could out wrestle him. They end up sort of going at it, and it gets a little bit more heated and turns into like a real kind of shoot match where they're slamming up against the exit door at 30,000 feet.
Wow.
I want to say I'm trying to remember whether it was Scott. No, I think Scott Hall was pretty much. So I want to say Michael Hayes was really drunk and almost tried to piss on McMahon's wife, thinking he was at the bathroom. A bunch of other things. It's completely out of hand, and a couple people, including Mr. Perfect, got released very shortly after. And so it's when people talk about it, they kind of always call it the plane ride from hell.
Never have an open bar on a plane.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Although you would think that with Vince and his wife on the plane that they'd know better than to go freaking crazy. But Ric Flair doing his usual thing, walking up and down the aisles with his robe on and nothing underneath it, basically flashing everybody. He apparently is notorious for liking to show his junk. So it was interesting. Certain things, like I said, even if you knew what it was, there was usually a couple wrinkles that were, I hadn't already known. Sort of different perspective. I'd say overall, I'd give it probably about a 6.5. It probably would be more like a 5 if it wasn't for that. It may be closer to a 7 because I was a big fan during that period, and really into it, and so I like hearing about the old stories and getting more, and I like the behind the scenes stuff. If you weren't a big wrestling fan at that time and not interested in all the details, it's probably more like a 5.
That's my issue with like books as a media and stuff like that. So the problem is you have to invest so much time into a book, and to have like a 5 or a 6.5 out of it, like I feel cheated, if that makes sense. So like in a movie or a show, like we talked about like The Last Kingdom, you're in it for an hour or two and like, this sucks, bail. You know what I mean? Like, but a book takes so long to kind of unravel. Then you get to a point where it's like, I already got 6 hours into reading this mug. I'm just going to, you know what I mean? Like and now I'm into this whole thing where like I'm dreading reading, and books as a format, I'm not very good about it. My wife reads like crazy. I'm sure Steve's wife does too. I just don't like it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's and the thing is kind of, I know that your wife is very much a hardcore reader, and there was a time when I read constantly. Unfortunately for me, my job is probably about 2/3 of it is reading and writing. It was like a profession, but it's not reading for pleasure or enjoyment. And so I haven't really been able to read and get enjoyment out of it for a long time. I've never been really good with fiction because as you guys know from my history with what kind of movies I like, I've never been able to completely suspend disbelief. I've never been able to lose myself in a story and like feel like I'm in the middle of it. That's not really. I don't have that kind of an imagination. But
you had a shitty childhood.
But I have. Yeah, but I have found that I've enjoyed reading. I do enjoy reading for information, and I've kept the book so far pretty light. Like I'm not getting into anything, too serious. I mean, I've read that book from Phil Knight. I read another book that was from like the manager from Van Halen, like the original Van Halen, and like their time on the road. Just stuff where it's just kind of BS, kind of. Almost like that was almost like a reality show on paper.
How long does it take you to crack through the Jim Ross book?
Well, it was about 300 pages. I didn't really time it because I didn't read it like all at once. I read it in a few couple hour chunks, I think, over the course of 3 or 4 days.
All right. So BV's Book Report as a new segment, obscure animation of BV's Book Reports. It's gonna be fun stuff. So there we go. And you said a 5 or 6.5. Bill said you liked it. Now he has some other. I noticed because I was gonna put the title of your book down, but I didn't know it. He has multiple other books. Does this inspire you to read more Jim Ross books? Or are you kind of done?
Well, I mean, I don't know what else he's gonna have to talk about because I read Slobberknocker, which was the one that he wrote before that, which kind of talked about his getting into the business. And to be honest with you, the only reason that I read that in the first place is because in my childhood, one of my favorite wrestling organizations was Mid-South, because I'd go to on the old school non-cable TVs, I'd go to like channel 38 on a weekend on like a Saturday night where they would have, I was either Friday or Saturday, I don't remember at this point, but where like you'd have a back-to-back hour of Mid-South wrestling, which is where like a lot of the big names in the 90s kind of started out. And then he was the main announcer for that. And then I'd watch AWA would come on right after it. And I'd be watching it on a black and white TV that was kind of, the antenna would sometimes get it in clearly. Sometimes you'd be watching it be a little bit fuzzy. And I wanted to get stories about that. And that book was a little bit underwhelming too, because it talks so much about sort of how he got into the business and got started. And I think JR is probably the best play-by-play guy in wrestling history, but I just don't find him all that interesting as an individual. So yeah, I don't know what else he's going to write. His career is far closer to the end than the beginning, so I don't know what else he would write that would be of interest to me. So no, I don't think I'd read another book if he wrote one.
All right, so I did read the Mankind book. I did enjoy that. I think you gave it to me after you got done reading it. So that was back in the day. That was an actual book with covers. That wasn't a Kindle. So,
there are so many wrestlers with books now.
Yeah, there are.
Like I'm looking at
Mankind started, didn't he? He made money. Mankind or Mick Foley. Once he put that one book out, everyone had a book after that.
Yeah, there were I was looking at the books from wrestlers. Scott Norton has a freaking autobiography.
Who cares about him? How to be a mid-card jobber?
Yeah, the highlight of his career was being like the business end of Vicious and Delicious with Buff Bagwell. It's like, no, I can't see spending $10 to read that. And much like, although I would say to your point, Charles, about being able to bail on something an hour in, if a book's bad enough in the first hour and a half, I will bail on it. Of course, I have made the financial investment of the book, but
that's why you use the Libby app too. Heather does that. You can sign into your local digital library. You use like your local municipal library, and you get to rent books onto your Kindle and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's that called?
It's called the Libby app, Libby. Yeah.
I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah, it's a fantastic app. And you sign up and you queue up behind other people, and you can basically rent books digitally from your library. You can use your Kindle and everything. It's really good.
I will do that. Thank you.
I'll tell Michelle about that. All right, so there's our book reports for the week. Next, we're going to go to what to watch this week. Charles already did watch the Spelling Bee one, which he was very lukewarm on. Now, this next one's close to my daughter's heart. Fuller House, the final season. So they showed the first 6 episodes in the fall, and now this is the last 6 episodes here in the spring. I have no idea why they did it that way, but Fuller House.
Because Aunt Becky's going to jail, Steve.
Yeah. That's why. Well, she's not in this. Yeah. They have an excuse why she's on there. I'm not gonna watch this. Holly's kind of lukewarm on this. She didn't like the last season, but her friends have all watched it, so I have a feeling it's a matter of time before she watches it. I'm not gonna watch this. Anyone here gonna watch Fuller House the final season? Apparently not. So
absolutely not.
Okay. So the next, this is Pete Davidson.
I gotta tell you, I want to see this big time.
I want to see it because of Bill Burr, not because of Pete Davidson.
Judd Apatow directs it. It just looks super compelling to me. Me and Heather both are like talking about how we really are into it.
The King of Staten Island. A lot of people are saying this is Pete Davidson's 8 Mile.
Yeah.
That's what it is, because it's basically about his life. I want to see it, but I don't want to see it for $19.99. So I'll wait for it to come out on DVD. Speaking of which, Family Video's back open again now, so I can give me some more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go.
How are they doing it? Plexiglass in between each title?
I haven't been inside. That is pretty funny. They hand you handy wipes as you walk around. So King of Staten Island. I'll wait for DVD. Bill, are you gonna go see or rent King of Staten Island?
I also think it's worth watching, but I probably won't pay $20 to do it.
Yeah. I will have a review for you as soon as it comes out. I'm definitely going to pick it out and check it out. Yeah, I'm going to give Pete Davidson $20. That's what I'm going to do.
Also on video on demand this week, Pete Davidson, is The High Note. This is with Dakota Johnson and the girl from Blackish.
Yeah, Tracy Ellis Ross, who's very attractive for me. I don't know. I can't explain it.
I don't
Not traditionally someone in my wheelhouse, but God, I just am
She plays like a Diana Ross character, and she's kind of out of touch, and then Dakota Johnson's her manager. This is definitely Ice Cube's in it as well. I don't think this is worth $20 at all. I'll wait for the rental on this one, so I'm a big no. Bill, The High Note, is that up your alley?
I also like Tracy Ross Ellis. I don't think I'm going to spend $20 to watch it, to this new on-demand thing, but I think I'll eventually see it.
She's hot. I don't know what it is. She does it for me.
All right.
Charles, are you going to rent The High Note?
Yeah, and I'm not going to rent it, but I'm going to give her a thumbs up. The Mama Blackish is hot.
If I could pause for just a minute. I don't know if this past week you guys caught, AMC, because we've had some conversations about the future of movie theaters. AMC has come out and has stated that they have very, very serious concerns about whether they will be able to sustain business when everything opens back up. They claim that they have already lost somewhere in the range of about $2 billion. And so AMC may be circling the drain already.
Is AMC the biggest theater chain in the country? It's got to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they go, that probably starts a chain reaction. And if that truly is the case, then we probably are not. There's not much left for theater.
Well, they go, either it's a chain reaction or someone fills the void. MJR Cinemax.
But with what is the question? I mean, who's going to have
the studio's going to say, why would I send it to a theater? That's what I'm saying. Like me and Steve are never going to agree on this topic. I'm telling you,
it really does look like that we're not much longer.
Steve is refusing to believe it's happening, and this is one.
I'm not refusing. I just want it to last longer, so I'm going to hold on as long as I can.
Yeah, I want it to close.
I can find somewhere.
Yeah.
You're taking an odd pleasure in this.
I do. I love it. Close it down. It's so comfortable at home and just nice. Love it, dude. I am no. And again, I'll get King of Staten Island. Here's my 20. Put on my iTunes. Thank you. Love it. Get out of my life, theaters. You suck.
All right, so that's what to do this week. Theaters are closing, and Charles says, "Fuck them all." All right. Charles, what's happening with the land of punch him in the face?
Yeah, so UFC 250 happened last night. I didn't get the main pay-per-view as we kind of were talking about. I wasn't that into the card. I think I was proven right by the results of it. It was all very cut and dry. Nothing really too crazy except for Sean O'Malley's KO of Eddie Wineland. He knocked him for a loop. He's 12-0 now, which is kind of crazy. Kind of a real. What's that?
What weight class is he?
Oh, like 122 pounds or something like that. He's a real skinny, scrawny guy, but nonetheless, I think he's like 180, 165, 180, somewhere in that area. He starched a dude, though. He's 12-0. He's this wiry little kid, dude, all tatted up. He had rainbow hair and stuff like that. He straight up starched this guy. It was the most impressive thing out of the night. The prelims I watched on ESPN. BV, did you check out the prelims at all? It was on ESPN.
I saw a little bit of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, it's kind of okay. And like I said, the main card, so obviously Amanda Nunes won again. No surprise there. Cody Garbrandt finally notched a win again for the first time in like 4 years or something like that. And like I said, the Sean O'Malley fight was really good. Now there's going to be another UFC fight night next Saturday. Steve's favorite, it's 2 chicks for the main event. Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Cavillo will be the main event. Steve will be tuning in. That'll be from the UFC Apex again in Vegas. And then, of course, every pay-per-view, Conor McGregor has to make it about himself. So he conveniently retired. Yeah, he retired after this event because he didn't hear about himself enough during it. So he said, hey, look, I got to get myself in here. I don't get it. I love Conor McGregor. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. But, dude, just chill out. It's going to be okay, man.
Does anyone buy for a second he's actually retired?
He's a boxer, fighter? No, not at all. So anyway, it was a good prelims for free, but I didn't rent that card. I was going to give him $65 for that one.
So, is there any update on Fight Island?
They seem to be thinking they know what island it is. So we'll see. Allegedly, like the
so weird.
The next pay-per-view or 2 or whatever is supposed to take place on it. They need to get it going.
Did you see John Oliver?
Of course I did, man. With UFC, and they took
UFC.
They and then, dude, the way he went at Dana White was so funny. Like 2 of the guys I love on this planet, they just went toe to toe about it. It's pretty funny stuff, man. Last week tonight on HBO, still one of the best shows on TV.
Yep. All right, that is the look at the punch you in the face. No update on the Bare Knucks, huh? They pretty much folded?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going to be in the empty AMC theaters. They're going to be.
Well, there's an opportunity there. Yeah. All right. So last week we teased it. This week we're going to talk about our computers. So tune out if you don't like Windows 10 and computers. There's no Apple here for me. Lights. Yeah, lights kind of looks like I did find out a way. I turned my lights off. I found out a way. So I bought recently a gaming computer. iBuyPower, it's called. It's a big brand at Best Buy, and it's also at Walmart, and it's at Micro Centers. And everyone's going to tell me that the PC nerd, you should have built your own. Pieced out in price-wise, it's equal to building it yourself. And, of course, some guy's going to tell me, well, I could have bought this hard drive off of eBay and got this from Joe's Crab Shack and got this and that. But
I bought my last computer from Joe's Crab Shack. I didn't know.
I know. You know, you always get that. It's like, well, why didn't you build it? Do this. Well, I got a year warranty.
The one nice thing about building it, though, is if something takes a dump or if you need to upgrade, it's able to be upgraded. Sometimes with the pre-made computers, you get too proprietary. Now, I don't know. I can't speak for how iBuyPower is, but sometimes a lot of these manufacturers will use like a weird hard drive that's only a specific size, and you got to look out for that. Now, I'm looking on your list of your specs. Yours happens to be liquid cooled, which is great for you because it means it runs quieter, it runs cooler. That's all good. But if you go to upgrade that, will that spell a problem for you in the future? So, in other words, could you update the graphics card if it?
Yeah, easily. See, now the one difference between Dell's, HP's, and these gaming desktops, these gaming desktops are built with big cases in mind that you're going to upgrade.
Okay.
So everything's very easy to get to. I added a hard drive already to mine. That I had an extra one here, slapped it in, took 5 minutes. Now the one thing is they didn't give me an extra SATA cable. That was kind of annoying. But other than that, these PC gaming, with the exception of Dell and HP, because they, like you said, are proprietary and they're annoying and they got the metal cages and all this other crap. Most of these iBuyPower, Origin, CyberPower, there's a lot of them. They're all designed because they know they're selling to gamers, and they know gamers always want to upgrade their stuff. So their stuff is made to be, and the motherboard is MSI. The power,
is your graphics card into that liquid cooling, or is the liquid cooling only for your CPU core?
It's only for the CPU. It connects to the CPU, and then 2 pipes go from that to the back fan.
Okay, so that's good. So then Your GPU, in theory, is upgradable then, because it's going to just vend out of the back. Okay.
But I bought an i9, so I don't think I'm going to need to upgrade the
No, your graphics card, though. The graphics card's already out of date. I guarantee you. That's the worst part about it, yeah.
Well, currently on the market, it's one of the best ones. But, in a year...
6 months from now, and it's like, dude, you got that? Oh, my God. Yeah. You're like, dude, what the hell?
But I'll tell you, I threw Dirt 3 at it. I threw Street Fighter 5. I threw Sea of Thieves, which isn't the greatest. And Star Wars Battlefront 2. Played all of them, a couple hours each, whatever. Couldn't hear the computer. Couldn't hear it. That's all. It felt the back. It was a little warm, but not that bad.
What kind of monitor are you running off of? What kind of resolution do you run this beast at?
I have a 2K monitor that I just recently bought a while, but AOC monitor. I don't know what it's a built for gaming. It's got a high refresh rate and all that crap. But it runs smooth. I have no problems. The only problem I told you before with the Madden and the EA games, I was getting those lines that were coming through. So I figured out what that was because it happened on this computer too. It's VSync. You turn the VSync on, those disappear. So I don't know what VSync does, but it gets rid of those lines on EA sports games. That's all I know. I have no complaints. It's 16 gigabytes of RAM. I had 32 in my old one, but it's running fine. I've bottlenecked nothing. Like I said, the computer runs great. Big thumbs up.
It only had a 1 terabyte SSD. It didn't have a spinnable disk drive in it at all?
No.
Oh wow! So you added another drive for your data, basically, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I had a 2 gig
2 terabyte. You mean? Yeah, you just put it
in
there.
2 terabyte.
Yeah.
So I put all my movies, pictures, and stuff on that drive.
Because that's the one thing as I'm looking at your specs on here. So it's got an NVIDIA, it's got a 2070 Super, it's got an RTX for the ray tracing in there, but it only has a 1 terabyte SSD, which is great for your boot drive and everything like that, but like you'd run out of room for your data pretty quickly.
And that's why I threw the extra hard drive in it. Yeah, and so now if you're old school like me, I do still like an optical drive. This case doesn't have it, and there's no way to put one in. I do have an external one if I really need one, just for copying things or installing stuff on disk. But and I moved my old computer to the basement, so I have my Plex servers in the basement. I got this one up here. I'm really happy with it. I mean, it's a great computer. I'm just surprised how quiet it is. That's the number one thing sticks out. The only negative
that's that liquid cooling coming into play, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. Because even your PS4 or your Xbox, when you play it, it'll sound like a jet engine after a while. But this stays
people get really crazy. That's why I was asking you. I was kind of sticking with you on that GPU. People will liquid pipe the heat sink on their GPUs as well. That's why I was curious if it was your CPU or that, because they'll get, and that thing will run stealth. You know what I mean? Like you'll have nothing going. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So it's very quiet. Now here's one thing I want to tell the PC Master Race. All right. So I wanted to play games that I also had on my console. That's why I played the Star Wars and the Street Fighter. It's not night and day like PC Master Race tells you all the time. But there is a little clearness to it that the console version doesn't have. I know it's hard to explain, but there's a little extra crispness to the picture.
Okay.
That shows up on a 2K monitor that's a little different than a console on a TV. Other than that, though, that's it. PC
so what's
Master
a
Race
play? I was just about to say, what's a PlayStation 4 Pro right now? $399? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what we're getting to a point where it's hard to justify that extra cabbage. You know what I mean?
But I'm going to use it for my work. I'm going to use it for videos and drawing.
We were just talking about gaming, just for the gaming.
Just strictly gaming wise. All those idiots on those forums that tell you, "Oh, your console looks like mud and
stupid. It makes no sense."
Yeah. So if I had to rate the graphics side by side, so the PS4 and Xbox One is probably a 9, and then the PC is like a 9.5.
Yeah.
Right? That's
so how much is that half a point worth to you?
Yeah. I mean, if you buy the gaming PC and you need it for other things, I understand that totally. But just buy it for strictly gaming makes no sense to me. But I like the game, highly recommend it. I wrote some review. Oh, another thing, no bloatware. When you buy an HP or a Dell, you get McCaffrey.
I got to talk to you hard about that in my review that's coming up about the bloatware. You had to buy a DisplayPort adapter for your Wacom. Talk about that.
I did have to do that. Well, the Wacom's old, though, in their defense. A newer Wacom would be HDMI or have a display port. Mine has a DVI, which is older. I'm pushing 5 or 6 years old on my Wacom right now. So the newer Wacoms don't have that, but I had to buy an adapter. Not a big deal. It works fine. Got a hook. You put the DVI in there, and it goes into a display port, which then goes into the port in the computer. So it worked right away. No problems. Nothing. I am amazed now how new computers pick up like drivers and printers way faster than the old ones.
Windows 10's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it sensed my printer like that as soon as I got home and hooked it up. So I was pretty happy about that, which I still need some ink for my printer. God, that's so expensive. But anyways, big thumbs up for me. I think it's a good company. I don't think it's bloated. I got a year warranty on it, so if anything breaks, I can just ship it to them. Right out the box. The one thing they say when you buy these game PCs, check all your cords, because in shipping they end up getting loose.
Jostled, yeah.
Yeah, so I checked all my cords on the inside. They were all in there, secured well. So, yeah, I no complaints from me. So
How much? How much is it? 15 hundo?
Yeah, it's a regular 16, but I got it on sale, and then I had some discounts, so I got it around $13.50 is what out of pocket for me.
And that's just the CPU. That's just the box. That's not including your monitors or nothing like that.
No, it comes with a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, but that's just the box. Yeah.
Yeah, mouse, keyboard, and the desktop is all you get. Yeah, and it comes with the warranty and stuff. So a big thumbs up from me. I know people will argue with me and say I could have built it for cheaper, but you won't have the warranty. I could take this to Best Buy tomorrow and a Geek Squad tell them to fix it, and then whatever. And now I'm not the only one, of course, that bought a PC. Bill, you also bought a PC. You've had a week or so with it. What are your thoughts on Tell us what your PC is and what you think.
Well, I bought an HP Spectre 360 2-in-1 laptop. I initially bought the 13.3-inch version, which was more expensive, but it was tiny. I'm amazed at how small these are now in relationship to comparably sized screens of previous versions.
Well, hold on, let me pause you for a second, BB. What was the point? Why did we do the upgrade? Your old one was just getting too big, too bulky, running too slow.
Well,
what brought you down to get an upgrade?
The laptop that I had previously, or I still have it, but it was a bargain. At the time, I bought it about 4 or 5 years ago. Bargain at the time. It was a very bulky 17-inch HP laptop, all plastic, cheap. The ones where the port for the power ends up getting kind of warped, and it doesn't want to charge just right. The battery, which was initially only about 2.5-3 hours in the first place, now barely gets about a half hour. Kind of worn down, and I wanted something that would be, since I'm not a hardcore user, and so I'm not a PC gamer like, say, Steve is, wanted to get something that would be sufficient for me for multiple years. I don't plan to buy a new one every 2 years. And so I was looking to get something that, frankly, is going to probably be a lot more than I need right now, but the object was that it should hold up over the course of a handful of years. And I kind of just went initially with a 13-inch. It had the OLED 4K, and I thought I'd seen pictures of the screen and whatnot. It was just thought it would be really cool, but I got it home. I opened it up. It was just way too small, particularly with my meaty digits or whatnot. So the thing is, I'm going to type and half my hands off the computer. It was really tiny. So I ended up taking it back, and I got a 15.6-inch version. It has a 4K Ultra HD and the i7, and in my research, and I don't really know the RAM, all of the benefits of the RAM to the detail that you guys do. But as a more casual user, I did in my research pick up that this laptop, like in most others, the RAM is soldered to the motherboard, so you can't really upgrade, or it'd be very difficult to upgrade. And realistically, I'm not going to pop this laptop open and work on it anyway. So I did get the 16 gigabytes of RAM. I know nothing about the video card, other than in the reviews that I'd read on the computer. You can do very light gaming on it without too much trouble. I'm not going to do what you do.
As you're talking, I brought up a video of your game card, your graphics card.
Mm-hmm.
It's handling Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Auto 5, and your Tomb Raider at 1080p at 30 or 40 frames a second. That's pretty good. It's not bad. Okay. So if you do game, you probably won't be missing. It'll probably run pretty smooth on there.
Oh, okay. Well, so and then also solid state drive, 512 gigabytes, and then the
that seems tight. That seems tight.
Alexa built in. Yeah, and the thing is too, the first thing I noticed with it when I opened it up is that so they make some of the higher end laptops now out of like aluminum. Like they use aluminum cases or metal cases. It's much more substantial. It's still not particularly heavy. It's something like 4 pounds, but it is. I mean, for example, when I lift the screen up, and it was particularly something I was concerned with, since with the 2-in-1, it has a thing where you can kind of 360 it over and use it as a tablet, and it comes with a pen that you can use to write, draw, whatever the case may be. It's sturdy. So when I would open up previous laptops, the plastic screens and whatnot would just, you do something with it, and the thing would just wobble back and forth, and it's pretty sturdy. It's what they call gem cut. So the corners are squared off on angle, so you don't have like edges. And then, all the Windows 10 stuff, like the fingerprint security for Windows and whatnot. Realistically, I mean, it didn't appear to have a lot of bloatware, but that being said, so much of that now is just in apps. I mean, I haven't gone in and done a real deep dig. Best Buy was running a promotion where it also came with free Trend Micro security. So I looked it up. I found a website where you can kind of check to see what the ratings are of the most recent security software and stuff is. So it was pretty well regarded. I've had a multi-unit Norton that just bothers the hell out of me. It might be really, really secure, but it doesn't allow me to use Google very easily. I either have to take it off of Chrome completely, or it diverts everything through a Yahoo search.
I'll strip all that shit out of there. The minute it stops me from doing something on it, I go mental.
Yeah, so the trend has been a lot better.
The other thing too is like update me. Every time you reboot, it drives me nuts.
So
what does the Alexa do in it?
Well, it functions as a separate Echo unit. You can either turn it on where you can turn it on for touch or no touch. So I'm sitting there on the laptop and I can just, hey Alexa, answer this or do this, and it just acts as essentially just like having another unit in the house.
Unit.
The battery on this is supposed to be, depending on, I've heard anything from 10 to 14 hours. I haven't pushed it yet. I'm hoping that on a lower, like a battery save setting, which is I probably can use for the most part, because, mostly I just use, kind of what your casual. I'll do like, web surfing. I'll shopping. I'll do things with, like
pornographic videos. Ever hear of those guys?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that on the laptop. But things like, MS Office, that sort of stuff. So, but I also looked at this as a kind of back to my whole theme of new hobbies, is that I also thought this would be good for experimentation with trying to learn how to get more out of a computer. I don't know that I want to get to the point of, major high tech, but I would like to be able to utilize the computer for more productive things than just what I use it for on a daily basis. And so, all in all, I think it's a really good system.
What are you trying to say? You want to learn how to code? Like, what are you saying right now?
No, like I'd like to just. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Like, for example, there have to be things that are similar. Like, you use computers to do stuff like this that I would understand at a very basic level, but would like to do more. Like, for example, if I were to do a podcast, which I have no interest in doing, but if I were interested in doing a podcast, I'd like to have the ability to make it be a little bit more, or let's say a YouTube channel, right? Would like to have it to be a little bit more look a little bit more properly produced.
You don't have to just go. You just go get an iPad and then you film it in portrait.
Well, I wasn't going to make that statement. But
film it 3 inches from your face.
Yeah, get as close as you can with the camera and talking to a wind tunnel. I don't know what's.
I'd like to be able to do more things. I need to figure out what those things are and kind of go through and see. Maybe I'd like to play around with some light video editing or, what, but. I'd like to be able to do more things with it that I know how to. Right now, I think I'm a good functional user of a computer. I can get my way around things, but I don't tap into the possibilities beyond kind of daily, sort of the standard adult daily use kind of thing. So,
learn command line.
What?
Learn command line in PowerShell.
Okay. I'll have to read.
I don't even know what that is.
But, yeah, so in the end, it's probably more laptop than I need, or probably may ever need. I'm sure I way overpaid for it.
What'd you pay?
It was $15.99. But I'm hoping that over time, I can sort of get more out of it, and then I'm more than anything, I'm relying on the hope that it won't be so outdated a few years from now that I'm going to feel like I need to upgrade. So if I can get a good 4 or 5 solid years of regular use out of it, then I'll be happy with it, and I'll be okay with the price.
All right, so you want to give it a number grade, or just happy with it?
So far, it's like a 9. I mean, it does. I mean, and I haven't even utilized the 4K piece on it, but the HD screen is already by leaps and bounds better than any portable unit I've ever had. So
both of us are happy with our PCs, happy with the money we spent. Charles, are you happy that you got to chuck the Chromecast out the back of the window?
I gave up. I tried to be cheap about it. I just couldn't do it. So Best Buy and Amazon ran a deal where you could get 4K Fire Stick TVs from Amazon or from Best Buy for $40. I was like, okay, this Chromecast is making me mental. I need to get something that has a remote, that has everything normal. Now, I asked Steve, and I said, I like this thing. It works pretty good. Pretty good being the caveat. I think I'm a little spoiled on the basis of I got Apple TVs upstairs. I didn't want to plunk down another $150 for one from my basement TV.
Wait, this is your first Fire Stick?
This is my first Fire Stick. I've never had
all the Alexa shit you got in your house is the first Fire Stick?
I have Apple TVs, and I'm super happy with them. And I got to tell you, this has done nothing but solidify my choice. But if you have an extra TV, this is a great option, is what I would say. So if you have a TV in your garage, in your bathroom, in your basement like I do, random TVs that you're not going to use every day, a Fire Stick or a Roku stick is the way to go. I would say the Fire Stick. But again, there's weird little things with it. So number one, I asked Steve. Steve brought up bloatware. BV said bloatware. This thing is full of bloatware. It is just Amazon from beginning to end. But if you can get past that, you can load onto the Fire Stick the applications that you need, like very similar to my Apple TV. The one thing I'll tell you though is it doesn't. First of all, I'm not jailbreaking this thing. I know a bunch of people are like shaking their fist at us right now going like, who uses a Fire Stick for something normal? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to keep it basic OE the way it is and install proper apps and do nothing janky. I'm not blowing the kernel out of it and all this kind of stuff.
You do blow the kernel out.
I'm sorry, blowing the kernel out of it?
Yeah. That's what you basically, you overwrite
That's what Charles says code for when he sucks something off.
Let me tell you something. I'm good in the military base, BV. You have no idea. It's basically, you're basically rewriting the code that it runs on so they can do this janky stuff with the streams and all this kind of stuff.
Coding.
So, yes. Mm-hmm. And anyway, I'm keeping this very big. But let me tell you. So I think it's a great device. It fills that void perfectly for that extra TV. It would drive me nuts if this were my main TV to use. The remote's got a little lag to it, as I've noticed in other Roku devices. I think Steve would co-sign this too. Those stick devices have a little bit of remote lag. And if you're using this as your primary device, it would drive you nuts. Does that make sense? So like every time you go to like, you're watching, let's say, Sports Center for 20 minutes, and then you want to flip over to Discovery real quick on like your AT&T TV app or something like that, there's a weird input lag that happens where like it almost has to like wake up the stick for like a hot second. And I've noticed that it's kind of laggy that way. And Steve, are you noticing the same? The same thing in Roku sticks and all of them?
Yeah, when I wake up my stick for a hot second, it does.
Dude, hot second sticks. It's not as what it used to be.
Waking up your stick, it takes a lot more than a hot second.
Yeah. So the other thing of note too, so I can put the Netflix app on it. I can put all my apps on it, and it will go to the top bar, which is cool. But the problem is, as soon as you scroll down, it's just pure Amazon hot garbage anywhere underneath there. It's like, dude, watch Rocket Man, watch, Making the Cut, watch, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's way too busy. And there's no way on the stick itself to kind of fix that interface. The Apple TV interface, you can customize it very, with whatever you want it to be. It's a very Amazon forward product. But the nice part is to BV's point, like with this laptop, it's got Alexa built into it, so you can do your Alexas. I also have those Wise cameras, as I've talked about in the past here. You can display those cameras on your TV. So if you had remote cameras in your house and stuff like that, you can ask the Fire TV stick to show your cameras. Overall, it's a solid 8. You know what I mean? But like it just doesn't replace. An Apple TV is a fantastic product. I will. All day long. It's got the horsepower that you need. The interface is clean. You know how I'm a super big stickler for how you use things and how easy it is to set up. And like I like to tailor things to kind of like I go to these 3 apps first and all this kind of stuff. And this is good. It's just not great. An Apple TV, I would argue, is great. But you're talking about a $40 device as opposed to a $150 device. So... You know what I mean? Like it kind of it goes back to what we were talking about with Steve. You know what I mean? Like with the console versus a PC, it's like, do you really need to? Is it worth that extra cabbage? If you got one for your kid's room or something like that, I think a Fire TV stick is more than ample for it.
Let me ask you this. Go ahead, Bill.
No, go ahead. I'll ask after.
Apple TV, is that a device that stays in the back of the TV, or is it a little box?
No, it's a box. It's a box with its own processor and everything. But the 4K Fire Stick has its own processor and everything built into it as well.
Yeah, but my point is those sticks, the Roku sticks and the Fire Sticks, I've been through a bunch of them already. Mm-hmm. What happens is on the back of your TV, those things get hot. Oh. And after a year or two, those things die.
Oh,
just so you know.
Yeah, keep them breathing. So
well, now your TV in the basement, it's not going to be on all the time. So, but like we have one in our living room where the TV's on a lot. My wife loves TV. So the heat from the television, the heat from the stick, they only last about a year and 3 months.
You bake them basically. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's just something to be aware of with Roku and Fire Sticks. Anyways, Bill, what are you going to ask?
Well, it's kind of funny because we have the original first-gen Amazon Fire TV, which is the box that comes out. And we've had that now for at least 5 years. And we've never had any problems with it.
But you're talking about...
I want to say that was like $120 when we got it at the time.
3 times the price, yeah.
Yeah.
But the horsepower that's in that box is 10 times more than what's in those sticks, is what I would argue.
Probably, yeah. Well, I mean, even now, though, because this is a pretty old box. I'm sure they're...
I bet you it's more comparable than you would assume. It's more comparable. I don't know.
The question I have, though, is if you were... Would you be as bothered by the Fire Stick, the things you're bothered by, if you weren't someone that streamed for literally all of your television and everything else that you view? If you weren't like a complete cord cutter, would this be as problematic?
But if you use a lot of apps, so in other words, if you bounce from Netflix out and into Hulu, like Steve might do, or something like that, They take that delay is and it catches up, and kind of when it kind of wakes up, or I don't know what the term would be, once it catches up with the delay, it's on, it's good to go. But there's a definite input where, like, and I don't know if it's a battery savings thing. I don't know if it's a horsepower saving thing, but they definitely shut off, like, the inputs to them in order to, like, save lag or do something. And there's a definite, like, hey, wake up when I need it to go. So, and like you said, maybe I'm a little bit of a power user. I don't know, like I'm a power bottom and everything else, but like, you know what I mean? Like but my point being, like, it's a thing that I think you have to consider. So would I recommend this for your living room TV? No. I think you'd want to get like one of those Fire Cubes that have probably more horsepower or similar horsepower to like the Apple TV or something that like you're describing. I think that for an auxiliary TV, though, for maybe even a bedroom TV or something that, like Steve was describing, you don't watch on a constant basis, this is perfect. You know what I mean? Like my basement TV, it's perfect for. My garage TV, it's perfect for. For my living room, I would have chucked this thing. I really would have.
I'm surprised this is the first time you've had a Fire Stick. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm not... For as much as I buy crap off Amazon, I don't subscribe to Prime. I don't do it. I'm not a monthly subscriber to Amazon Prime. I never have been. I kind of come and go. I think that their content is kind of whack in all opinion on the Amazon stuff. And the problem is when I have a Prime membership, I tend to buy way too much shit off Amazon. Like it's almost like a cost savings for me to like not have Prime, if that makes sense. Because I find myself at work buying shit I just don't need. You know what I mean? So it's a great little device. Don't get me wrong. Again, if it's your main TV, I'd have to have a conversation with you and tell you to do something different.
All right, so everyone's happy with their PCs. I got an iBuy Power. BB's got an HP Spectre, and Charles for the first time is seeing a 4K Fire Stick, and don't mind it for an auxiliary television. Just be careful; they will overheat and die. I've been through a lot of them.
What is your favorite stick that you've had? You use Roku's, don't you?
I like Roku the best.
Do you? Okay.
The Fire Sticks are too loaded with too much Amazon crap.
It is jam-packed with it.
And the other thing I don't like, there'll be a movie or something on there, and you click it, and it goes rent for $5.99. That's annoying as hell. Where Roku just has a list of your apps. Here's your Netflix, your HBO Max, whatever it is, and you can go online to the website and upload and download channels automatically to your Roku. Pick the room. I like Roku's setup. But again, they overheat, which I found out the hard way. Because one day we're sitting there trying to flip it, and the thing's just going squirrely all over the screen.
You just baked it.
Yeah, I was like, wow, all right. So if I ever get one, I'm going to get one that's not connected to the back of the television.
What apps are you doing it? Why do you have it on your living room that you can't get it from another device? What other devices do you have in your living room that you need?
Well, I don't have one anymore. I did.
Before you had a smart TV now, and that's...
I got a smart TV, and my old Xbox is in the living room.
So you just use that. BV, what do you use your Fire Stick for, or your Fire Cube for in the living room?
We use it for all of our streaming stuff.
Oh, so if you're gonna watch Netflix and stuff like that, you would use it.
Yeah, the smart. I don't like the platform for the smart TV with Vizio because it requires you to essentially use your phone as the remote.
It's
I had heard that they had made a separate remote control available for it, but they were supposed to send them or make them available and we never got one. So,
yeah, and I got a Sharp TV, and it's a smart TV, but it's like retarded. Hulu wasn't even in the App Store.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Hulu's on everything. You can get Hulu on everything. Wow.
HBO Max, I kind of understood. It's kind of new, but Hulu's been around for a while. It's like, how is the Hulu not on the Sharp App Store?
It's on everything. Crazy.
Yeah, so. All right, let's go to the news. Now, you guys remember a thing called Game Gear back in the day?
Yeah.
This was Sega's answer to the Game Boy, pretty much. Well, they're releasing 4 versions of it in different colors. And each one's going to have 4 games on it. Now, I don't know if you can click the link or not, but the Game Gear is only going to be about that big. I saw a picture of it. It'll fit in the palm of your hand.
How much is it? More than $20?
$50.
Nope. I'm out.
Right now.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
It's starting in Japan, and then it's going to make its way over here. I was never a Game Gear. I don't like handhold. I don't like mobile games. I don't like Game Boy games. Very few and far between. But yeah, so you can get one of those to play on your ride to work on the bus or whatever you want. So I thought that.
What
was
about the Sega Nomad? You could play your Genesis games on the go.
Yeah, they're not remaking that. So now here's a new feature that just came to Amazon where Bill could try it on his computer or you could try it at your house. It's going to be called the drop-in feature. Google already has something like this. It's called announcements. You can make an announcement and it'll play on all this. Basically, it turns your speakers into an intercom.
Yeah. So what the difference is, they've had drop-ins, Steve. So the difference is now you can drop in everywhere. That's the new big thing now. So whereas before, you could just say, Alexa, drop in on the living room, and it would basically allow you to talk directly to the living room. Now you can say, Alexa, drop in everywhere, and it talks to the whole house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Google does the same thing, but you just have to say, you have to make your group.
Yeah.
So you put like all your speakers in one group, and then you'll say,
drop into the
Google,
house group or whatever. Yeah.
Cancel Google.
Does that turn into like some home intercom system?
Yeah, it's what we use it a lot. If I'm in the garage or in the basement, and Heather has to ask me a question from the kitchen, she'll use it a lot. Like we'll drop in. I can also drop in on my phone. So I have the Amazon Alexa app on my phone. I can drop in on the living room. I can drop in on the garage. I can drop in all the places. It's a super handy feature. I do like it.
Yeah, and now you can do it throughout the whole house and annoy your kid. I would do it when Holly was sleeping, so I'd have enough to come out just to mess with her. All right, so the next one, even in my Mountain Dew drinking prime, I was never a big fan of energy drinks or Red Bull. I just don't. I think they taste terrible. I don't understand. I know people love them. Well, now you can go to Sonic's and get a Red Bull slushie. And this just sounds like a terrible idea. Any of you guys drink Red Bull or like Red Bull?
I'm not a fan, BV. You like Red Bull?
No. And I can't do energy drinks because they have too much stimulant in them.
Oh, because the heart and stuff?
It's not good for blood pressure. So.
Yeah. I just don't like energy drinks. No, I'm not supposed to be drinking them. I don't drink them. They're terrible.
Yeah, I don't like the way they taste.
Coffee is about as far as I'll go.
I've worked with a guy who actually developed a heart condition from drinking too much Monster Energy. And he's on pills to this day because he drank a ton of Monster Energy. So that shit's real, dude. Like, yeah, don't do it.
What age was he drinking all these Monsters?
His mid-20s. Yeah, he was drinking them constantly. Yeah.
I tried one Red Bull and I was like, "This tastes like ass." I don't even get this. So now back to our fat guys, how we love fast food. In Korea, now they had these at Taco Bell.
I was gonna say, I'm with you on that. They already had something like this, didn't
but
they?
These are with the flavoring of the KFC chicken. So they're making a Taco Bell or KFC taco where the shell is KFC chicken, and then it's got lettuce, tomato, and whatever in the middle.
Is it gonna have meat or just like the taco toppings in the middle?
Just the taco toppings. If you can click the link, it looks delicious. I'm not gonna lie, it looks great, but it's only in Korea. I think we've had it at Taco Bell, but big KFC taco. They always seem to try these weird things out. Like we never did get the meatless chicken bone.
That was in Atlanta, wasn't it? The veggie tender.
Yeah. So KFC is always trying weird things here and there, but they kind of put them in weird areas. We never get them here in Michigan. Maybe they figure we're all too fat in Michigan. We don't need this kind of stuff.
That checks out, yeah.
Now, going with the topics of the protests and stuff this week, Call of Duty and Activision has announced they're going to try to crack down on the racists online. I got to tell you, when I don't play with my friends, because I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty last
You might
week,
as well just mute everyone, because there's no way, dude.
It is racist 101. If they eliminate the racists, there'll only be 10 people playing Call of Duty. I mean,
it's like so weird crazy. Young kids, too, when you're on there. They're just dropping it's like, dude, what are you up to?
Racist cracks, gay slurs.
Does the article explain how they plan to do it? Do you file complaints?
They're starting with usernames. So they're going to go through the list, and if they see anything like, spick or something terrible, they're going to get rid of those usernames. And then they're going to rely on reports from other players a lot. So I don't know. I think they're going to lose a big chunk. The minute
someone gets pissed off at someone, they're going to report their
dude.
Yeah.
Instead of swatting, it's going to be like racial swatting going forward.
So that's what Call of Duty is trying to help the protesters.
It is rampant on there. Steve's 100% right. It is rampant.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's only and you can tell they're so young, 14, 15 years old.
It's crazy.
It's like, God, what is wrong with you guys? But
that anonymity, man, brings out the worst in people. Look at them Yahoo comments, as we often talk about.
Or TMZ.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the news. Not a lot because, the real life stuff going on right now. But I thought it was interesting, especially the small Game Gears for $50. I don't know who that's the market for. I really don't.
I'll get it when it's on sale for $18, like the PlayStation 1s or PlayStation Minis.
Yeah, and a Red Bull slushie sounds terrible to me. So now, Charles, you tried one more new hobby this week, and what did you try to do?
So I have it right here. I brought my new. I picked up a skateboard. Yeah.
Oh,
so
God.
Why
does that look so long? Is that a traditional?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to get back from it a little bit. I paid a little extra.
It looks better back.
I paid a little extra coin because I wanted to get like a decent skateboard. I didn't want to have like a Walmart special and nothing like that. So I bought a.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but is there a weight limit on that skateboard?
No, I mean at least not that I'm aware of. It's holding me. I'm okay with it. I'm going for it.
Is it creaking anyway? You're on it.
First of all, there's a handful of things. So I know how to roll. I'm really proficient at rollerblading. I'm really proficient at scooters. I can ride a bicycle. A skateboard is a wholly different animal, man. I'm just going to tell you this right now. What you don't realize, and I don't know if I can show you this on the video here, the skateboard across the middle is cupped. And I don't know if that's to allow you to do tricks or what that is. So like there's a tail, there's like it's upswept at both ends, and then across the middle, it oddly, as BV has a picture of Tony Hawk, which you don't realize, it's not flat through the middle. So like the whole time you're trying to like ride it, your foot is oddly like, it's just there's a weird positioning to it that these like scrawny little kids can get that my 41-year-old ass is struggling with. So I'm able to kind of get it to go up and around my driveway after a couple hours of trying this. Dude, I don't know how the hell these guys are doing these tricks. They must have, back to the point we talked about during the spelling bee, they got to be on these things for like 40,000 hours. I don't know how the hell they're doing all this shit. It's unbelievable. The disconnect between my brain and my feet must be vast. And the older I get, it must be getting bigger. Because I'm telling you guys, I am struggling to get on this goddamn skateboard. The other thing you don't realize, too, is the trucks are like this metal part here. And they pivot a lot. And again, that's my weight that's on it. You know what I mean? Like, so to turn it, you kind of lean it sometimes. Man, that thing just, it wants to go. I have been struggling, fellas, just so we know. My 41-year-old ass having a theory of I'm going to learn how to skateboard might be an old dog with new tricks, man. I'm struggling over here, so.
Are you rocking knee pads and a helmet?
I wear a helmet. I don't wear knee pads, and that's probably unadvised. I probably should at least put some knee pads on. But I wear knee pads a lot from work, and I know they can be kind of cumbersome and annoying. I probably should put some on, but, I'm going to wait till I fall and bust one of my kneecaps open before I finally decide to do it. But
you realize you're like twice the size of pretty much everybody that skateboards.
Yes, completely.
Yeah. Okay, it's definitely a small person's.
Oh my God!
A little man's.
It's just it is so hard. I can't even. Again, I can do all the other things like a scooter, razor blade, or rollerblades rather. This one, man, it's gonna take me some time, but I'm gonna get it. I'm determined. I'm gonna keep working at it.
So, what is your end goal? Like, how efficient do you?
I want to be able to like ride. Like, if you said, "Hey, let's go around the block," I want to be able to like ride it as a mode of transportation confidently. Does that make sense?
Your end goal should be you should be able to ride from your house to my house.
Dude, that's a long fucking way. Wait a second.
Well, you'll be riding most of the way.
Yeah, you're crazy. Riding a bike that far is a little bit of...
Holly and I walked to the 7-Eleven from our house to that one on Dartmouth and Monroe.
Oh, okay.
I felt like it was 22 miles away.
Yeah, that's a long way, man.
Yeah, well, I was like, oh, jeez. It was that day. It was 90
plans to take it to the half pipe or anything?
No, dude, if I do, I will hurt myself drastically. I guarantee you, man. It is. You must. And again, like most sports and most anything you can be good at, you got to be exposed to it young. You know what I mean? Like the younger you are, the more of a sponge you are to things. Because man, I got to tell you, my 41-year-old ass is struggling to learn how to ride a skateboard.
I really think past the age of 30, the only sports you should take up would be like golf, bowling, darts, maybe racquetball, tennis, maybe low impact tennis.
I would argue, I don't even know if skateboarding, or at least not in the arena that I would use it, is a sport. Does that make sense? I don't think it's. I'm just gonna kind of want to goof around. Yeah,
Where
like
come up with this?
Welcome to my life, BV. This is the randomness.
But I mean, like, I've always just been curious, like, where do you come up with this shit?
Dude, I don't know. You just see, like, I would do that.
Like, what made you, like, at what point, what made you stop and think, you know what, I'm going to learn how to skateboard?
Because why not? I mean, what the fuck, baby? What do you got to live, man?
Did you get the news they're remaking Tony Hawk Pro Skater? They're remaking it for PS4. You were like, I could do that.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Get me out there, man. Get me out there.
No, honestly, I might have missed it. How much did you pay for that skateboard?
$90 for it. And the other thing I'm shocked by, right? This maybe I should have bought a Walmart version. This thing rolls so easy. You can barely tap it; it goes flying. I'm like, what kind of bearings?
Where did you buy that from?
Again, on Amazon. Goddamn Amazon is the word. I cannot.
You could have got free shipping.
Yeah, no, I won't do it. I wait. I punish myself. I make myself wait.
I've had free shipping for a year.
It's rough, man. It's a slippery slope, man. All of a sudden, you got Amazon boxes every day. I can't do it. So anyway, one of the things I want to be a weird Renaissance man. I want to know a little bit about a lot of shit, and that's basically how I live my life. I just find randomness.
Well, what point of life though would you be standing around with a bunch of grown men? I don't know a a lot about skateboarding. And you'd be like, well, let me tell you.
But let me tell you, I won't have to wonder, Steve, because I'll have done it. That's what I'm saying.
Me, you, Bill, and Wiggs are standing around going, what is skateboarding like? And then you'll just come up out of nowhere.
I do.
You definitely have the weird part already down.
I'm just telling you.
Just come up with the most random shit imaginable. Dude.
Why don't you just get those gym shoes with the wheels and the heel?
Oh, it's Heelys, dude.
And how many? How many hobbies can you commit to at one time?
Dude, you don't got to commit.
Dedicate 2 weeks to each hobby and then I'm off to something else.
That's the beauty of life, BB.
It's like Charles's free trial for 1 month.
Yeah, man. It's like, dude, I love it.
You have one hell of a yard sale, though.
Dude, I can't get enough of the randomness. The age that we live in 2020. I don't know how anyone's bored. I struggle with not having enough time for my randomness. What's that?
I run out of time constantly.
Yeah. When my daughter says she's bored, we punish her now. We make her call her grandma on the nucleus now. She says
I would never say I'm bored again.
Dude, she doesn't at all. She'll spell it out. She's like, I didn't say it. It's one of those things that I got a little FU money as I get older. And it's one of the things that I just enjoy is just finding all these random. It's one of the best things in my life. It's just like the adventures, man. And the randomness is a blast. I can't.
Well, in all honesty, between the three of us, I got the video games and stuff, and you got your randomness for the week. Bill's trying the reading and stuff. Compared to when I was a kid. And I saw Dad's middle age was sitting at a kitchen table drinking a beer and not smiling.
That's what I'm saying. Right? So
I'm going to say us three have gotten a little further.
It's great, man.
I just don't have the because I find myself trying to come up with good ideas that I think might actually stick for me as some kind of a hobby, and I'm struggled to come up with like 1 or 2 good ideas, and you seem to have 1 or 2 new ideas every other day. Outside the fact that I don't know how you don't go broke.
The trick is you just kind of dive in a little bit, you dive out. It's so much fun. I can't admit, it is. The older I get, the more random I get, and I gotta tell you, the more alive I feel when I get random. I love it. It's gonna be with me for many years to come. And my randomness, I just can't get enough of it.
It is a little different because you pick different stuff each month. I got my set ones that I just get deeper into.
Yeah, that's okay.
like streaming kind of leads.
Yeah.
The video games led to a little bit of streaming, stuff like that. And then Bill's got his that he's trying to find land.
I'll be honest though, I wish I had that kind of imaginative freedom. I don't have it. It's not there.
Yeah, but you've never seen something and was like, what's that about? Like, you're just not curious about the world that's around you at all?
It's not that I'm not curious. I mean, I also, as you guys were talking to, struggling with, you struggle with having, enough time to do things. But I don't see that many things where I'm just like, oh, I got to try that.
I don't know, man. Like, I wish nothing more than for BV to just like, I'm gonna go buy like a high-end pair of sneakers. You know what I mean? Like, become the sneaker guy, BV, or just getting random is just
I
so.
thought about that actually.
Get yourself a fly-ass pair. I want to see you next week. And pull up a pair of kicks. It doesn't have to be super expensive.
Can't do it because they don't put those in wide width.
Dude, I'm just saying.
Well, how about cigars? You always love cigars.
There you go.
Collect like unique cigars.
Can't do that health-wise.
I stopped smoking cigars because I was trying not to exacerbate the health issues anymore.
Well, you don't have to smoke them. Just buy them. Leave them in a box. Or you can get a miniature donkey. I've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger has that. So you can get a donkey to go with Pudge. All right, so we're random.
I want BV to come up with a new hobby. I want BV to just come up with the most random. That's your goal.
He's got the reading. The reading.
Yeah, the reading's a good one.
Well, the stuff I do come up with turns out to be really expensive, so it gets prohibitive. The stuff that I think might be interesting.
What's for example there? What do you got? Like horseback riding? You want to be the equestrian? What are you gonna do?
No. Like for example,
I'd be a big horse.
I've been watching these YouTube channels because I go down these rabbit holes, and one of the things that I watch, there's this it's a guy that buys these like tend to be older, like sometimes exotic, sometimes just kind of cool cars that you get really cheap because there's a lot wrong with them, and then he has them fixed or whatnot, does whatever. It's called Hoovie's Garage, and I thought it would be in my mind it'd be really cool to like go get like certain cars that I have certain interest in, get ones, and then but the problem is, one, that takes a lot of extra money, and I don't have that kind of money. And then the other thing is I can't fix, well, and this guy can't either, but the amount of money you'd have to put into stuff. I mean, there's this thing where he buys like the cheapest this in the USA, he goes and finds the whatever and puts it in, but you're flipping them around, you have to have a lot of space for it, you have time, money. It's just it's not realistic.
What about getting into high-end remote control cars? That's cheaper than a real car.
I've never been interested in remote control cars. They amuse me for about 10 minutes and then I get bored.
Well, I don't know. It's cheaper than a real car.
I even tried. At one point I was doing model cars, and it didn't hold enough. I don't have that kind of patience to sitting with it. And
I don't know.
I just my brain's not wired the same way that you guys' brains are, and in this particular aspect, I suffer for it.
Well, in many ways, not many people are wired like our brains are.
no, but there, you know what? Like, not because obviously we're not really in the business of giving each other compliments because that's not what we do. But if there is one thing I've always kind of, sort of admired or envied about you guys is, you guys have no shortage of just,
stupid shit
content.
Yeah.
Things like your ability to find things that keep you engaged and interested and excited about things. Just it frustrates me that I can't get there.
I can help you by going into animation. You want anything?
Oh yeah, someone that can't draw straight stick people, but I'll go into animation.
No, I mean just animation to watch. I can help you out. Korean.
That stuff is. See, that's the thing.
I'm
telling you, man. BV needs to get into sneakers. That's BV's move, man. Start getting you some fly ass kicks, dude.
But he said it wouldn't fit him.
Oh, God damn it.
What about the fancy hats? You like those? We go to the Mad Hatter when you come back to Detroit.
Yeah, dude. Let's go get chapeaus. I love chapeaus. Dude.
Oh, Bill should get into collector scarves. I think he could be a scarf man.
Collector scarves?
Just saying, man.
You're just rocking a silk scarf.
Do something, man.
Drinking some Cavassier.
There's so much interesting stuff, man. And that's like I said, like you said with the YouTube holes and stuff, man. You get going down this shit. That's how I end up getting so random. End up getting on that list on the right, and then you end up going down a whole other roll. You're like, how'd I end up here? Oh, wow, what are they doing? You know what I mean? Like, it's great.
Yeah, that kind of You know, you do that kind of shit, and where it ends up with me is I end up buying a freaking expensive dog stroller.
Is that okay? You know,
you go with a dog.
What about that, dude? Yeah, what about being like a dog shower or something like that? Like, what about? Why don't you show dogs, BB?
Yeah, no.
All right, so that's gonna wrap us up for our 100th episode. We went a little long, but it's 100, so we had to celebrate some. And please, anyone out there that hears this segment, if you do, leave a message on what Bill should get into. Yeah. Let's hear some suggestions from the audience. But of course, again,
it probably should be fitness.
They're all gonna tell. We're gonna tell that to all of us. But all right, so. You can catch us on Apple iTunes, Google Play. I got distracted there. Spotify, of course, on the website, fatguyslittlepodcast.com. We are everywhere podcasts are. You can watch and listen. And we're going to get eventually back to Twitch and YouTube here coming up eventually. Yeah. Live, anyways. That's going to happen here in a little bit. But as the COVID stuff starts to relax, maybe we'll get more onto that. So until next week, this is Steve.
And Charles.
And BV.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next week.